All right. My first random live video. Uh, there's probably nobody here. It says there's one person watching, and that's probably me. That's fine. I totally expected that. And maybe some people will pop in, maybe they won't. The reason I decided to do a live stream right now, randomly on September 9th, I've got a bunch of different reasons for that. Um, and I'll get into that here in a second if I get my notes straightened out here. Really, it boils down to I queued up a bunch of videos to do the video rotation that I've normally been doing, and my energy for the last 2 weeks has been at the bottom of the barrel. And I don't even really know how to explain it any better than that. And especially today, there's a lot of things bothering me today for reasons I'm not going to get into as part of the video here. But there's just a lot that this situation that I'm in continues to do to make life difficult, I guess would be the best way to put it. And so I had a couple people reach out to me earlier, again, within the last couple of hours saying, "Hey, where'd you go?" And I've just been low on energy, and that's all it really boils down to. I have videos queued up that I was going to schedule and push live, and that slipped through the cracks because I had other things I absolutely had to get done. And other than doing what I absolutely 100% have to do lately, I've been trying to rest and recover some of the energy that I lost through this whole process that goes all the way back to, technically, it goes all the way back to 2019, but it really kind of boils down to the energy that the 2025 has been a wild ride. And so my energy was low. That's why I haven't posted videos. And so one of the two things that I wanted to do to move the channel forward was do more live streams when I feel like recording a video and talking about a specific subject. I think the better way for me to do it moving forward, now that I have an internet connection that supports live streams, and I don't have a lot of problems with the upload speed and video cutting out and things like that. It's going to happen from time to time. But instead of sitting in front of my cell phone camera like I'm doing, just like I'm doing right now, except for my phone instead of my FaceTime camera, and just talking for an hour and then uploading a video, putting all the metadata in place, and then scheduling it into some rotation to go live every day, where I'm just sitting in front of a camera and talking to you guys, it probably makes more sense to just do it live. Why not? I'm basically doing it live when I do it on my phone. I'm not editing these videos. I'm not doing anything to them. I may have to take two videos and splice them together in Premiere and export it and upload it, but it takes a lot of time just to do that. And I can tell you all the same things that I'm telling you in those videos sitting in front of my computer, but at the same time, I can share my screen. I can do some different things in the live stream that I would otherwise have to edit. And so moving forward, I think I'm just going to do it like this. So I might pop up. I just created a thumbnail image for this video, and I got it done at 5:59 and pushed it up and then hit the go live button. Figure, why not 6 o'clock? So I'll use that thumbnail format. But these are just going to be videos that I'm probably not going to schedule in advance. It might be a Tuesday morning. It might be a Sunday afternoon. I don't know. It just might be, hey, what's up, everybody? No schedule involved with this. And just, one of the criticisms I've been getting on my channel, and, whatever, I'm not losing sleep over it, or I don't care that much, is people want the up-to-date. They want to know, like, what's going on now, not what was going on 8 days ago. And I had my reasons for doing things the way I was doing them. It started out because I was living in that tool shed, the tiny house thing, whatever you want to call it. And when the slumlords started getting real difficult to deal with, I was putting a delay on the videos that I was shooting because I was talking about the stuff going on, and I didn't want him to know exactly what I was planning on doing until the plans were done. So when I told you guys that I found a new place to live and I was moving out, that had been done for about 12 days. So there was like a buffer of when I would do something and when you'd find out. And that was on purpose so that I didn't know if he was watching the channel or he knew I had a YouTube channel or anything. I had mentioned it maybe once, and he didn't really seem like the kind of guy who would go and check that out. Like, he's got his own things going on and whatnot. So I didn't really expect that he was sitting there like, what's this guy doing? And he obviously, he had no idea that I was moving out, because the day I moved out, I waited until he was gone, moved all my stuff out and got the hell out of there, and then sent him a text and was like, hey, I'm gone. Peace out. And he had no idea. He was blindsided by it, which was good. But then I got into this rhythm of, I could shoot a video whenever I want, and then I could just upload it, put it into this rotation, and just have YouTube stick a new video up for me every day so that there was a new video to watch every day. And that was cool for a while, but that wasn't really what I want to do. And so in general, I'm going to do these live streams now, and whoever comes when it's live. But honestly, I'm doing this more for the people who just regularly come to the channel. They're just going to be under the live tab instead of the regular video tab. And excuse me. And you'll get the up-to-date general whatever I feel like talking about today video without having to wait for it. And up until I moved into the place I'm living in now, I couldn't even do this. My internet connection was garbage. So I couldn't do a live stream without the thing cutting out constantly and not having a good upload speed. And here it's pretty stable. AT&T just stopped by, and AT&T just stopped by and put a thing on the fence out at the end of the driveway saying they're going to put fiber in on this street. So I have a lot of internet options available to me here, and it is what it is. Tim C, what's up? How about them Steelers and Bills Sunday? Is that they're playing Sunday? Is that this week coming up? Those, I mean, if I'm rooting for a team, it would be the Steelers or the Bills, which is kind of funny because I'm from Western New York and I lived in Pittsburgh most of my life. So those are the two places I've lived. I don't care that much about sports in the first place to really care who wins. But I don't even think I'll watch the game, to be honest. I've been watching a lot of bicycle racing, and I'm tapped out a little bit on that now too. They both won this past Sunday. This Sunday is week 2 out of 17. Okay, yeah, I figured. I did look up the Steelers at some point because it popped into my head because Aaron Rodgers is playing for them, so I wanted to see what he was going to do. And of course, the NFL, they schedule their games to get viewers. So, of course, the home opener would be Aaron Rodgers playing against the Jets. So I thought that was kind of funny. But I didn't even watch the highlights. I just said, oh, they won. Okay. I heard, yeah, Rodgers looked good. I read he threw 4 touchdown passes. And then the stats guys said, well, Aaron Rodgers is the 4th quarterback in the history of NFL to throw 4 consecutive touchdown passes in 2 consecutive games after switching from one team to another. And I'm like, yeah, who's got time? Who's got time to come up with these stats that they come up with? Like, what about the number of quarterbacks who have thrown 4 consecutive touchdown passes in 2 consecutive games, both played under a full moon? You know what I mean? Like, come on, come up with something better than that. Like the stats that they come up with, they crack me up. So that was the rundown. If you're watching the replay on the live stream, that's the rundown of why I just decided to throw up a random live stream in the middle of the week for no reason. And I am still going to do the Thursday evening live streams, the scheduled ones. I'm going to have to put up a thumbnail for it after I'm done with this, however long this one lasts. And I'll continue to do that so that, you know, people, I'm trying to build a crowd that expects it at a certain date and time. Thursday this week, though, 6 o'clock should be good to go. But one of the things I'm going to do this week is go start looking at cars. If you've been watching this channel for a while, I don't see the list in front of me of who is watching unless you chat in the live chat. So, but if you're watching this or you're watching the replay and you've been watching this channel for a bit, you know that I haven't had a car since the day I came home from the federal joint, and some money fell into my lap, kind of fell out of the sky, and it should be good to go on Thursday. I was even thinking about going to do it tomorrow, but I think I'm going to give it one more day so that all the money is in my hands. Oh, yeah, Tim asks, do you still have full access to your funds on Thursday? I should. The bank hasn't done. I mean, I checked my account this morning, and it's there. They haven't taken it away or anything. They just said that Thursday morning I should have full access. I have enough in the account right now, the car that I want to go look at, and I'll share my screen here in a minute. I know I did on Thursday, but some new people might be in. I'm thinking I could go tomorrow and go look at this car, and if it's good to go, which I have some concerns, but I mean, I'm buying a used car in the $5,000 to $6,000 range is my budget. So doesn't matter what I buy. I'm going to be buying somebody else's problems. And it's just which problems can I deal with, and how long after I drive off the lot can I go before I have to make that first visit to the mechanic. I'll talk about that in a minute. I'm just going to jump off. I was kind of going through the plugs. So the live stream, I will keep doing that every Thursday from 6 to 8, but I'm going to do more of these impromptu, an hour or two live stream, random times. I won't announce it. I'm just going to pop up, do a video, be like, what's up, everybody? If you show up, you show up. But I'll announce this on Thursday as well, that I'm going to do this more. And then, if you follow the channel, they may not, I don't know how it's going to show up in your feed, but it should. If you get notifications when I push a new video up, you should get a notification about a stream. And then on the flip side, when I do some videos, I want to do more refined videos under the video tab. So like very focused about a specific subject, edited. I don't want to say totally scripted, a little bit off the cuff and a little bit scripted, but I want to like share knowledge and stories with you guys that I want to mix it up. I want to be able to show you some graphics, video clips, maybe have a little background music, whatever. So I'm going to start out by taking a bunch of gear that I've been picking up from this Amazon Vine program. They invited me to this thing, and some people know what I didn't know what it was. I'd never heard of it before. But you sign up, they'll send you stuff for free, and you test it. You write a review, and you leave reviews, and you can, an unbiased review, and then you keep the thing that they send you. At the end of the year, they'll send you a 1099 form with the value of the items that you received to report to the IRS. So that'll be a problem when that comes up. But then again, I guess my Amazon Prime subscription now is a business expense. So you know what I mean? You do what you do. But this thing has opened up some things for me. I've been able to pick up some camera gear that's going to help me do what I want to do next. And a little bit of this, a little bit of that. So I have a couple of GoPro Hero 4 cameras. I think I have 3 of these things from back in the day that I still have. I have a GoPro Hero 3. I have some old cell phones. I have different stuff to work with. I may or may not pick up if I pick up a nicer camera, it would be because of image stabilization, but I'm not doing anything like that until I go buy a car. So if I have money left over, I may get on Facebook Marketplace and see if I can find some sort of camera that can do some of this stuff with image stabilization, because if I'm shooting video while I ride my bicycle, it'll come out a lot better with image stabilization than the footage I get from my GoPro. I think if I do a chest mount, it'll be a lot smoother and a lot less jerky and jittery. But when I had it on my helmet as a helmet cam, I noticed it, even though it's a fisheye lens and you get a lot of forgiveness with a wide angle lens when it comes to that. But it's still it was still very jerky footage. And so I'm going to work with what I have, but I am going to do a series of how to be a bicycle commuter, what I'm doing, the things I do, and give you ideas. Not that you would do it the same way I do, but everything from what I pack and why, what I carry with me and why, different loadouts for different scenarios. Right now, it'll just be the loadout I currently use. I think that's going to be the first video I shoot. But I've already done this a few months ago, but it was on the floor of my ghetto tiny tool shed house. And it was just off the cuff and just, me talking and it was probably 2 hours long by the time I got through it. I'm gonna do it a little bit differently and try to keep the video like half hour if possible. There's a lot of stuff to talk about, but if I do it as an edited approach versus just off the cuff with the camera running pointed at me, I can tighten it up to fit in a smaller time frame and give you more information in less time. So I'm going to do that, but I'm also going to use the cameras that I have and start filming the commute that I go on. And there's 2 different ways I can go. And I can, one of them, some of you people will look at and go, oh my God, you're taking your life in your own hands every time you go out there and do that. There's some crazy stuff that I have to ride on to go the shortest distance between here where I live and this bakery I work at. And then there's another way that I can go that's very peaceful and tranquil, and it's all on bicycle paths, and it's mostly on bicycle paths. There's about 3 miles of 24 that I'm on a road where cars are obnoxious towards me. Or I can take a route where it's only 18 miles to get home, and I'm on roads that are obnoxious the entire ride. So I'm going to show you both. People want to see it. People have asked me to show it to you all. And for me to like, it's hard enough to go to this bakery and back every time, but then to have to pull cameras out and prep the cameras and everything else, it's been something that I didn't feel like doing so much. But I think what I'm going to do is just film a whole bunch of it, put different cameras on different bikes and film as much as I can for us starting hopefully this weekend. If I buy a car this week, I'm probably not going to do it this week. I'm going to drive for a couple of weeks, but that'll give me time and energy to kind of bundle up and get everything prepped so that the next time I ride my bike to the bakery, I can plan it out and say, this is what I do. This is why I do it. It's getting dark in the mornings. Almost getting to the point where I'm going to have 2 lights on the front of my bike. Right now, I just have a headlamp, and it's a bright one. It's a really bright light. But when I leave to go to the bakery, it's dark, and it's only going to get worse and worse until they switch the daylight savings time on us. And then it'll go back to being light. I'll go back to not having to use lights for a while. But the other day I was riding down the bike trail, and I have a headlamp that's super bright, and my hands get a little bit sweaty. I just ordered some gloves on Amazon Vine. In fact, I've been putting off getting cycling gloves for whatever reason. I got a free pair coming my way to test. So that's cool. I'm cool with that. On my road bike, on my Specialized, the one I call the Silver Bullet, the handlebar grip tape and the brake hoods can be slippery when my hands get sweaty. And it was early in the morning, dark, even with the bright light, you can't see everything in front of you. And I was just kind of zoned out, and I hit a bump in this trail, and my left hand just went foof off the handlebar, and I almost bit it. I almost went right over. And somehow I slipped off the saddle and like hugged the top tube of my bike with my crotch. My left foot was dragging on the ground, and my right hand was desperately clutching the brake lever to get me to slow down. And somehow I pulled it off. I didn't bite the dust. I didn't fall. But I did go off the trail into the dirt a little bit, and I'm like, woo! And so I don't know, when I'm filming this stuff, you might see something like that happen, but I really don't. That's about the closest I've come to having any kind of incident. And the main reason it happened is because it was dark, and I wasn't holding on to my handlebars I was just kind of relaxed and just kind of leaning against the handlebars, and my front wheel smacked something, and my left hand just slid right off the handlebars. And so having gloves will give me a little bit of grip and texture, so that if that were to happen again, it wouldn't just slide off from being sweaty. So I'm gonna document that, and in order to do it, it's just going to take more time to do an edited video. If I gather footage over a few weeks' time and then start putting together content from it, I might do like 4 or 5 videos out of it talking about different things. I can show you my Strava readouts, and I can really make it interesting in terms of talking about all kinds of different subjects related to bike commuting and have a playlist about it. and I can just keep adding to it as I have more stuff to share. Bicycle maintenance, bicycle, what to pack, what to take with you and why, things to watch out for, how to plan out a route, how to use different equipment that I use, and just like different things that different ideas of all kinds of stuff. Um, Picked up a couple of cadence sensors on the cheap. Haven't installed them yet. And a cadence sensor just tells you your RPMs of your pedal strokes, but they're wireless, and they'll feed the data to either my phone or my little Garmin GPS that I use. This GPS watch. I strap it to handlebars on one of my bikes and use that as a cycling computer. Because I was about to buy a cycling computer for that bike, and I'm like, wait a minute, why don't I just use this? I already own it, and it would be perfect for that. I just had to get some sort of mount to make it so that I could strap it to the handlebars, and it works great. And so I'm just going to kind of document all of that stuff, put it on a playlist. Maybe I have prison stories of, if you're new to the stream and you don't know anything about this channel. I was basically living the dream back in 2022. I was living a good life. I made a stupid mistake. I posted some pretty nasty things on social media, and long story short, the FBI showed up at my house over social media posts, drove a tank right into the front door, and then hauled me off to federal prison for 2 years, at which point I lost everything I owned, my career, most of my friendships, my family, my kids, everything. And then I ended up being released from prison to be homeless, and the probation department more or less allowed me to stay homeless for 5 or 6 months until until they gave me permission to move to Houston to move in with my best friend, who helped me get on my feet by giving me a roof over my head. And so I got a part-time job at a bakery. I've been doing freelance work. I've been a graphic designer / web designer / software designer, user experience designer, and a number of other job titles for 25 to 30 years before this happened. And so, but that career is over. Nobody's ever going to hire me again doing that kind of work for a company. So I've applied to over 600 jobs. I've been offered 3 jobs at this point. And every time they run a background check, they're like, no. So even for a remote job in the software business, they'll just say no. So, but if I'm doing work for other businesses, nobody cares. If they're going to hire me to build them a website, do some marketing work, whatever the case may be, nobody seems to care about my background check or what happened. And, everybody who I'm doing work for right now, they all know, and they think that it was BS, the level that the government took this. But it's been a struggle. And so this whole channel is about coming back from that. And so I'm just trying to think of okay, how can I document this and document the coming back from it all? And which I've been doing. But how can I, I'm always trying to think of what can I do better? And, don't ever be satisfied with what you're doing today. But also don't hold yourself back and stop yourself from doing something because it's not perfect. They say perfect is the enemy of being done. And so when I was the second day I was homeless, I took my cell phone, went out to a park, and just recorded a video talking about it, put it up on YouTube, and people started interacting with me, and it went from there. if it wasn't for that situation, I probably would have never got on YouTube, because I'm a perfectionist and I am a designer and I do video editing and all this other stuff, motion graphics. I've made money in my day doing motion graphics and video and just all kinds of design and everything else under the sun creatively. And so I was too much of a perfectionist. I would try to sit down and do something for YouTube, and then I would just, no, this isn't good enough. And I would just hold on to it and never put it out there because I wanted it to be perfect. And so now I'm like the opposite. I just started doing it. But I've just reached a point in the last few weeks where I just feel like I want to start doing things a little different, doing it a little better. Part of why is because, let's see, go back to like the plugs. We've got channel memberships now. I'm just going to share my screen. What do I got to do here? Window, entire screen. All right, here we go. So on the channel right now, I've got memberships turned on. And so if you go to the channel, it says I'm a member of my own channel. Of course I am. There's 2 levels of membership. And if I go, let me see here. YouTube Studio. And I should have had this queued up already. Ships. And I just turned this on. So I don't have any members yet, which is fine. I didn't even want to do it. Let me see here. I'm just looking for how I show you the different tiers. Memberships levels. That's, okay, is this what? Okay, that's good enough. All right. So the membership options, I turned it on because YouTube told me they'd give me $600 just to turn it on. And I'm like, free money? Yeah, okay, fine. And then they said, we'll give you $6 for every new member that signs up in the first 30 days. And I'm like, yeah, that's fine. And I had to look, I'm like, there's got to be some strings attached. Like, you need to get this many members in this much time or whatever. I don't think there is. I looked into this. I spent some time asking around and talking to different people in different places, and seems like when YouTube decides to do that, they just do it. And they'll give different bonuses to different people for turning it on. But so they said, if you turn this on, we'll give you $600. I don't know when I'll get it. And if they screw me out of it, I'll say, all right, I'll tell y'all. But so for the channel memberships, there were things I wanted to do, but YouTube made it very difficult. So I just kept it simple. The awesome channel member is the base level. It's $2 a month. And you get all the standard things that normal YouTube channels that you can become a member of give out. And I'm going to try to make it better as we go without changing the price. But I had to start with something. And so you get the loyalty badges, which I've been told I can design my own. Members only live chats. So I'll do chats like this. I may even schedule a chat. Once I have one, if I have one member, I'll start doing a members only live chat. Why not? And I'll do it once a week for like an hour. I'll do it a scheduled time, just like the Thursday chat. Maybe it'll be a Tuesday chat. I don't know, but it'll be like a scheduled, like it won't be just you'll know when to come. And early access to new videos. So that's part of the reason why I want to do better videos. So if I do these edited videos, even if it's me sitting in front of a camera talking, but also sharing my screen and just kind of giving you more to back up whatever it is I'm talking about, help me get to the point, pick a specific topic and stick with it. I don't need to make a 3-hour long video where I just ramble about a bunch of different crap, and just try to kind of be concise with it. This live stream that I'm doing tonight The random live stream is going to be where I just ramble about random stuff. So if the videos I want to start posting, I want to also release early to members of the channel. And if, like, let's say I'm going to put up a video once a week because that's what I have the time for. I'll leave it members only for a while. I don't know exactly, like maybe until I do another video. So that sounds like the plan for me right now. So if it takes me 2 weeks to post another video in a series or whatever, members only until the next one comes out, because these aren't going to be dated. These videos aren't going to be like, we've got a 3-day news cycle. So if I'm talking about something in the news, like that woman at the baseball game, the Karen that got all mad and took the baseball away from the little kid whose dad got him a baseball, like that was like 3 days ago. Nobody's talking about that anymore. So I'm not going to be putting up videos and then releasing them to the public with like breaking news and talking about stuff that happened 2 weeks ago that nobody's even remembers anymore. So the videos that I'm going to post will be a little bit more timeless and not really dated. And the dated stuff, like what's going on now stuff, I'll just do in a live stream. That way it's live. And so I'll give early access to the members, and how this is all going to work out, I got to work out too. Members only live streams, I will never put them out to the public. So whatever happens in the members only live stream stays in the members only live stream. And then for my photo store, I'll do a discount codes, and then the High Rollers Club, they made me do 2 levels. They forced me to do 2 levels for the membership. I only wanted to do 1. So I said, well, $5.99 a month, I'll throw together some sort of shout out board, like the High Rollers Club, every time I do a video or something like that. Whether it's a live stream and or another video, you'll get your name in the credits. You're basically a producer of the show. And so if you're in the High Rollers Club, you'll have your screen name in the video at the end. And I'm like, okay, fine. May as well have the 2 tiers. Why not? So that's that. No more. I don't got to talk about the memberships anymore. It's there. The other things, let's see here. So other plugs. No commercials on the live streams when I'm live. I'm not doing that. I don't like that, because when I'm watching somebody's YouTube channel and they have commercials turned on, if I'm using the Brave browser or if I'm using a browser full of ad blockers, I'm cool. I can watch without seeing the commercials. But if I'm sitting in front of my TV or looking on my phone to someone's live stream and the ads come on, the person could be in the middle of a sentence and then the ad kicks in and goes for anywhere from 10 seconds to a minute. And then it goes right back to the live stream live. So you missed whatever was going on during that ad. And my chances of going back to rewatch a live stream are pretty much 0. So I don't like it when the ads pop up during live streams, and I figure people watching mine aren't going to want that either. So I'm not going to. And YouTube gets pretty aggressive with how many they'll throw in your stream. Hey, Jared, what's up? I'm just doing a random live stream. I'm not going to redo the whole intro here, but basically I just decided, instead of doing so many videos day after day, where I record a video in front of a camera and talk for an hour, and then hit an upload button and schedule it to come out at some point, may as well just do it live. Because what's the difference? I'm not editing them anyway. So, and I can do more stuff when it's live. So that's what I'm doing tonight. I'm still doing the live stream on Thursday, unless I am out because I am in the process of buying a car and I haven't got home yet. So I am going to go and try to look at a vehicle on Thursday, and that's one of the things I'll talk about tonight. So other than the plugs, we talked about the channel memberships, the live stream stuff, all that. I will turn the ads on for the live stream when it gets replayed. There's when I'm done hosting the stream, I get a screen that pops up in YouTube Studio. I can reconfigure it for the ads to go live. For the channel memberships, when I make a video members only, it won't have ads. Jared says, I completely support that. Easier on you. I know some channels I watch that only do live stream for the most part. I kind of started to feel like this is what I want to do by watching some of the other channels that I watch. And a lot of those guys go into a phase where they're basically doing live streams all the time and they're not doing videos. And so I think I'm going to do more. I didn't have a connection to video. I didn't have an internet connection that could support live streams without being crap and without being full of problems. So now that I do, I think it just makes more sense to do more live stuff. And then when I post videos, they're going to be less frequent, but they'll be much better quality-wise. And I'm going to try to up my video game, editing, quality, good footage, whatever I can do to make an interesting video. And yeah, I think, anything to deal with the shadow ban issues and to kind of just take things in a new direction. I'm not doing it because people told me to do it. It's just I don't like certain things, and I've been wanting to do certain things for a while, and now I'm kind of getting into a place where I can, and so I may as well. So I was talking earlier before you jumped in that I'm going to do some bicycling videos using footage, talking about everything from what I pack to commute, and 4 different, like how to go on a long distance adventure, how to commute to your job, how to go on a 30-mile ride where you don't want to carry anything, but you got to be prepared for like the basics, like a flat tire or a bolt coming loose or something like that. And just talk about those kinds of things and just make shorter videos that are better with content. And then I'll branch out from there into other topics. I mean, I have 2 years worth of prison stories. I could make a whole prison playlist of all the crazy stuff I saw there. People been wanting to know. And I don't know how I want to do it yet. Like in terms of how to make the video. So but I don't know. It's all going to it's all just going to, I'll figure it out as I go. That's all I can do. So let's see what else. I think that covers all the plugs. If you throw a thumbs up on the video, that helps with the algorithm quite a bit. Let's see. But yeah, like Jared said, a lot of other people are doing the live streams more and less edited stuff. And so I figured, why not make the edited stuff better quality? And what I was saying before that was, for the members only, when I make a video available for channel members, I'll make it no commercials. And then when I switch it to being live to the public, then I'll turn the ads on. And so, but unfortunately, I can't do, YouTube doesn't make a mechanism for me to say, if you're a channel member, you don't see ads, but if you're not a channel member, you see the ads. There's no mechanism to do it that way. And that's probably because YouTube just wants you all watching ads. And they want you to buy a YouTube premium subscription if you want to pay to have the ads turn off. And so, how's the car shopping going? I'm actually having to shop soon myself. All right, I know if you were here on Thursday, you You already saw what I'm about to show you, but I've got 3 cars, really 2 picked out to go look at. So really close to where I live, now this is my budget. My budget is basically 5 to 6 grand. I don't want a car payment, so I'm going to have to roll the dice. I'm either going to have to get a super cheap car that well, I'll talk about that in a minute, but if I'm going to get a car with very low miles, it's going to be a bottom of the barrel car. And but I'm probably going to have to get something with well over 100,000 miles in that budget. So I'm going to have to just be careful and look, what can I get? And I'm hoping to maybe get a car that I can drive for 3 years and then trade up. So the first thing I keep seeing is this Subaru Forester. It's $44.95 at the lot, and it's got 168,000 miles on it, and it's a 2006. So my biggest concern with it now, for me, my lifestyle, this would be a pretty good vehicle, all-wheel drive. I could go up to Pittsburgh in the winter and not worry about driving in the snow and all that kind of stuff. Plus, it's a big enough vehicle that I can fold down the back seats and carry camping equipment, and I can get to places out in the woods. You know, it's not a Jeep Wrangler. It's not a Nissan Frontier 4-wheel drive, but this would actually be okay. It's clean. The interior, I mean, it's been detailed. You know, maybe they can hide things, but I don't see any problems from like a previous owner abusing it from looking at the pictures, which is all I can do right now. The price is pretty good for what they're asking for. And my plan is, this is the one I'm probably going to go look at on Thursday, mainly because this dealership is a 4-mile bicycle ride from where I live. It's right down the street. And so maybe they have something else on their lot, you know, but this is what I'm going to go down to look at. And my biggest concern with a Subaru of this year and this era would be the head gasket issues that they have. So I'm not going to expect a dealer that probably bought this at an auction, or maybe it was a trade-in, to have maintenance records to know whether or not that head gasket's been replaced. Because if I'm driving on the original head gasket for that engine, it's the naturally aspirated 4-cylinder boxer engine that they have in these things. And is it a guarantee that I'm going to have my head gasket blow out? No, but they're known for that. So, but I don't think it would be a bad vehicle if that. Any other problems I think I could handle price-wise, but having to find a mechanic to do a freaking head gasket repair and pay up anywhere from $1,500 to $2,000 to have that done, that's going to be something I don't want to deal with. And so another option. Now this car is about 20 to 30 miles away from me. So if I want to go look at this, I'm in for the day. This is a day trip on a bicycle for me. I'm going to have to go 30 miles, look at the car, ride my bicycle home. But it's a 2019 Mitsubishi Mirage with 60,000 miles on it, 5,500. The Subaru $44.95. I'm gonna walk in there ready to throw down an offer of, if you can get me out of there with paperwork, BS, your fees, your dealer fees, all your BS, your sales tax, and all that crap, and get me out the door at $37.50. Let's do it. I'll shake your hand right now. I'll fill out the papers. I'll drive away. I don't expect them to bite on that, but if I can get it down below $4,000 out the door, okay, now I've got money left over that if I do need to do something to this car, I can afford to do it. And really, I'm looking to like try and get another 30, 40,000 miles out of this car before I, give it to somebody else or sell it, trade it in, whatever. They got this Mirage. I drove one of these. I rented one of these. while I was here in Houston, I had to drive. I needed a car to drive for a day, and I went and rented one of these. And it's not the fastest car on the road, that's for sure. I'm definitely. It's a car. That's basically what it is. It's a car. It drives. It's got a 3-cylinder engine. A it's got a 3-cylinder engine. It's got a CVT transmission, but my homework tells me that the CVTs in this car are relatively reliable because the car weighs almost nothing. The one thing about this car that was nice when I drove it like 200 miles, and I go to the gas pump to fill up the gas tank, and $4 later I hear clunk, and I thought I was at some ghetto gas station with a broken gas pump, and I'm sitting there trying to like squeeze the gas pump to get the gas to go, and I'm like, come on. And I finally go, wait a minute. I hang up the gas pump on the thing, and I get in the car and I turn the key, and it's like, oh, you got a full tank. So it cost me $4 in gas to drive that far, 200 miles. Jared says, I wonder why the Mirage is so low for that mileage in your model. That I wonder too. Like, I feel now if I was going to go look at this car, there's nothing in the description that says, this was a wreck, a refurbished title or whatever. I don't see anything in there, but it's definitely low for the market for this car. Grok AI even told me the price range, and KBB, I looked it up on Kelly Blue Book and all that. It makes me wonder, why is that so below what they normally sell for? And it's 30 something miles away. So it's kind of like I've got this aversion to going 30 miles away from my house to buy a car right now, not just for the hassle of me having to go 30 miles on a bicycle to go look at a car and then ride back if I don't buy it. But secondly, because if I have a problem and I have to go to this dealership, it's going to be 30 miles away. So, yeah, hopefully it hasn't been in a flood or something similar. And I'm just like, I'm asking God to help me with this, to like, I don't want to go out and buy the wrong car. I have no fixation in terms of which car to buy. I would be just as happy driving a Mitsubishi Mirage as a Subaru Forester. But I mean, technically, if it came down to these two vehicles, I would rather have the Forester, but it has a lot more miles on it. But I've had vehicles that got up there in mileage and were still reliable, and that I, never had a doubt that I could get to and from. And I'm pretty convinced that I want to go to a dealership only because the dealership will do all the paperwork, the registration, the titling, I'll have license plates on it, and I'll be able to get in the vehicle and just drive home. If I go to a private seller, I can haggle better, but now it's up to me to go to the DMV, and then I got to go to this place and that place, and how many weeks am I going to have to deal with the government before I can even get in the vehicle and drive it home from the person's driveway? If I already owned a vehicle, I would be much more willing to go buy a vehicle from a private seller and deal with all that stuff. But I don't have a car right now. So it's almost like I feel like going to a dealership, a used car dealership, even though, they're all a bunch of ripoff artists and shysters. So I know this going into it. P says, I drove a Jeep Grand Cherokee that had 239,000 miles on it, and that thing was a champ. Good luck. Praying for you, Adam. I had a Cherokee. I had the XJ. I had a 1996 Cherokee, and that thing would still be on the road today if it didn't get stolen and into a high-speed police chase and crashed. But I mean, that you couldn't kill them. You can't kill those old Cherokees. You can't make them die. You could try to. They're like that Toyota Hilux on Top Gear where they tried to destroy this pickup truck, and no matter what they did to the pickup truck, they couldn't destroy it. So I loved my Cherokee. That was one of my favorite vehicles I ever owned, and I do see them here in Houston on Facebook Marketplace, but they're all private sellers, which of course they would be at that old. And a lot of them, the seller is actually putting in the description what the problems are. And I'm like, nope. I don't need a vehicle with problems. And I don't want to drive a mud crawler all the way to Pittsburgh and back. Jared's asking how much to ship that one car that guy has for $1,500. If the cheapest I could see, I didn't put a lot into it, but it was over $1,000 to ship it. And that could take a month. That could take more than a month to get here if I initiated that. And who knows what's going to happen. And it's generous that somebody was willing to donate a car to me, and I was seriously considering it. But I'd be more comfortable getting a car that I look at myself, that I can look under the hood and take on a test drive and all that stuff. And okay, so I get a car delivered here from California. What do I have to go through to get it on the road? And who do I got to pay off? Which politicians do I have to bribe and all that kind of crap. So I'm just kind of like, my gut feeling is saying, go to a dealership, stay in your budget. Don't let the dealer, I can walk away at a dealership if I don't think I'm being treated good. My homework on this dealer right here has told, they've got 5-star reviews all over Google Maps. I've done my homework enough to want to go and look at this, and maybe they got other things on the lot, but this is what I'd be going to look at. And then I'll show you one other ride. Blue Sky says you might consider a rent to own. You could write off the lease as a business expense, should come fully tagged and licensed. I don't want anything complicated. I don't want a monthly payment. I just want to buy a car and own it. Later on I'd be fine. Like if I already had a car, like I just said, I would go and buy from a private seller. I wouldn't have any problem with that. My only concern right now, my biggest concern about dealing with a private seller has more to do with the hassle that I have to go with after I make the sale or after I make the deal. I can go to a dealership on Thursday, and if this car ends up being a good one, I can just drive home and be done. And that, to me, that's worth the trade-off of you pay more at a dealership than you would from a private seller. But this dealership here has an auto garage on site. They do all kinds of work. It's like they're an auto garage as well. They have 100 cars on their lot. So I'm just kind of like, my gut feeling is just telling me to do that. So there's one other car that popped up, and I'm not seriously thinking about this, but there's this 1998 Mercedes SLK 230 retractable hardtop, little 2-seat coupe. Really sweet looking car. And it's in my budget. And it's got about the same amount of miles on it as the Subaru. And I'm like, man, that would be fun to drive. But now the biggest thing about that would be when a 1998 Mercedes needs a part, it's going to take, you're going to have to find a mechanic that'll work on it, number one. Number two, back when I lived in Pennsylvania, my mechanic was a friend of mine. Like, I had the friend and family discount, and they worked on BMWs. So when I had my Mini Cooper, they had all the tools for Mini Coopers. They could work on it. But there were times I would drop off my Mini Cooper to get the brakes done, and they'd have to special order brake pads because even, they couldn't get them from the parts guy. And they'd have to be like, man, okay, yeah, we found you the brake pads. It's going to take about a week to get here and blah, 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 and this and that. They didn't charge me extra, premium labor or whatever. But that Mini Cooper was a pain to work on because to do anything under the hood, you have to take the whole front of the car apart. This car is a little bit more accessible to the engine and everything. But we all know that if you need a part for your Mercedes, it's going to cost more than a part for your Chevy. So, but yeah, and like Jared says, that would be great for a local driver. But if you're going to take it on the road and camp along the way, it might be challenging. Like, German cars are nice. I mean, my Mini Cooper never gave me problems that were serious, but I also didn't trust it because it was almost 20 years old. And, pretty much I'd be driving along, boom, check engine light comes on. What's this? I have my code reader. I check it. Oh, it's this sensor. Replace the sensor. A couple weeks later, boom, check engine light comes on. What's it? What the hell now? It's this other, and like some of the things you can just put off for a month. But I'm pretty I like to take care of my cars. So if something's wrong, I'm gonna fix it. But anyway, this came up. This was like the fun option out of all the cars I've looked at. This would be like this is probably the one that I'm not supposed to buy, but would be fun to have. And so I'm cool with that. But price-wise, it's $6,000. You could probably get it to come down a little bit. And, I mean, I'd have to drive this for a while being as old as it is. But honestly, a 1998, cars from the mid-90s, I think, are built better than the cars of today. And being down south here in Houston, if this is a Southern car, there's a huge difference between an old car from the South and an old car from New York or Pittsburgh. Salt will. Jared asks, "Is insurance high in Houston?" I don't know. I'm expecting I'm going to get shafted on the insurance for anything I buy. But this was a fun one. Now I have a bunch of other things bookmarked. Ideally, like a Toyota Camry or a Corolla in that mileage range, in the 150,000 mile range, give or take, would probably be a banger of a reliable car. There was a RAV4 that popped up a few weeks ago, and it got sold. It's not available anymore, but it had about the same amount of miles as the Subaru, and I would take the RAV4 over the Subaru just because Toyota, it's a tank. It's not going to die. I've bookmarked a bunch of other cars, but none of them are calling me. And so the reason why this one's at the top of my list right now. That could change in the next 48 hours if I find something better. But this one's on my list right now because of the proximity to my house. It's 4 miles away. It's a vehicle that I would actually not mind. I've never wanted a Forester, but I've ridden in them before. I've never driven one, but I've ridden in them before, and I know people that own them. And it's suitable for the kind of lifestyle I live. And even if the head gasket started giving me a problem, it's still drivable usually, unless it's like a massive leak. But usually those problems start out small and give you time to deal with it. I don't know. That's the one thing I'm gonna try to use as haggling material when I go to the dealership. I'm maybe like, well, if you can't tell me when the last time that head gasket was fixed, that's a roll of my dice. And, we're just going to use that as negotiation. But there's a chance I could come home driving this. But I got to ask, when I look, all I have to go by is the photos. And the body, I don't see scratches. I don't see dents. If you look close at the tires look like they're pretty good. If I get my head underneath the vehicle and see if I'm looking for corrosion, rust, looking at the bushings and just all the things that a high mileage vehicle might have worn out by now. And then under the hood, I'm just, I'm going to look for oil leaks and drips and things like that. I'll probably take the dipstick out, pop open the coolant, look and see if there's any oil and coolant mixing together, those kinds of things. And then just take it on a test drive and hopefully take it on a test drive by myself so that I can really check it out. Blue Sky says your son's birthday is today. Tell him happy birthday from the chat. I don't talk about my YouTube stuff with my kids. I think that's just something you do. If you're on YouTube, I think it's one of the things that a good piece of advice that I've given people, even way before I was on YouTube, but just in life in general. If you're going to go out and do something that you want to do, don't look for support from your friends and family. When I started getting serious into my photography, and it was like 2016, when I decided I wanted to really dig deep and become a photographer, and hopefully a photographer full time. The more you share your photos and stuff with your family and friends, the more they don't care. And they're just like, oh, what an idiot. He's going to go, he's got a good career. Why does he want to do this? I had on Facebook, for example, about 100 friends on my personal Facebook page. And I had a Facebook rule that I wouldn't be friends with somebody that I didn't know. So it was all personal friends and family. And that number always sat at about 100. People would come, people would go. And I would post my photography there all the time. And I wouldn't even get a thumbs up. I wouldn't get nothing. Nobody would repost my photos. Nobody would comment. Nothing. And because people don't care. People don't get, nobody cares. So the whole point is and some people would be discouraged by that you're showing your photos to your friends and your family and your spouse and your all the people that really close. And nope, they won't care. They'll look at you like you're one of those people selling the fitness, the fat wraps or Tupperware or something. Like they'll think you're trying to get them to come to your Tupperware party or whatever. And that's just the way they'll act. And so I would even my really, really, really close friends, I'd be like, come on, man, hook a brother up. Give me a like. Give me a thumbs up. Give me a repost or something. And so my advice is, it didn't faze me. It didn't discourage me from doing what I wanted to do. But the point is, there's a lot of people who would start a YouTube channel and they would tell all their friends and family, come watch me, watch my YouTube channel. And then their friends and family will just take a dump on them. And then they don't want to do it anymore. But maybe their content was good and maybe they are good at it. And so you just got to find the people that want to vibe with you. You got to find your people. And chances are they're not going to be your friends, family, relatives, those kinds of things. It's just, it doesn't work like that. And that's fine. If you're starting a band, if you're going to start a rock band, You know, are you going to go to, you got to go down to the local club and get gigs. You can't be playing for grandma, and you know, you can't be playing at the family reunion. You got to go down to the club and play. So it's kind of like that. Jared says, I used to share my interest on social media, but it just caused more arguments than I cared for. So I focused my interest with other people who have those interests. I'm hoping to start a YouTube next. Yeah. I mean, just do it. Like YouTube, I think is good, especially if you're new. They'll find people that want to watch your stuff for you. They do that more than the other social media channels do, I think. That's one positive thing I can say about YouTube. I watched a yoga video about a week ago. I think I talked about that on the live stream. If I didn't, well, I was going to go to a yoga class, and instead I got a yoga mat for my home and just did it at home. And it was so bad, and I'm so out of shape and so messed up from all the tension and stress in my body that would have been an embarrassment to go to an actual yoga place. But the video that I did was like this very basic, bare bones beginner yoga workout that should have been a breeze. And it wasn't until after I went to leave a comment, this girl, it's like her 5th video on her channel, and she had like 50 followers. And that video only had like 30 views. And so after I went back today and looked to see if she had posted some more videos. And that video that I did, now it has like 1,200 views. And it's just been a week since I did that workout. And she's posted a couple more videos. I don't know how many followers she has, but like she just started. I didn't know this when I watched the video. I just was searching for beginner yoga easy workout, and that video popped up along with some others. And I started a different one, but the woman spoke German. And I'm like, I need to actually understand what's being said, because I'm not going to be looking at the screen the whole time. And I know yoga, I know all the moves. I know generally, like, I don't need to be like handheld through it, but I still want to see, but I still want to hear what's being said. So I switched to this other video, but it ended up being some girl who just started a channel probably within a month or so. And, you know, and so her videos are starting to get a little bit of traction. And so I think anybody who starts out on YouTube, if you've got something that people want to see, you'll get a little bit of traction, and the wheels will start to spin. And they help you with that because they want you to get to a point where they can run ads on your channel, period. So they make it, and the other platforms, Facebook, Instagram, all the other ones, they suck. And Twitter, in my opinion, X now, the only platform that's going to be able to compete with YouTube in terms of maybe having a chance for video producers to go somewhere else would be X. But it's all political. X is nothing but politics. So it's kind of like, you know, if you're going to do a political channel, X could be your spot. So anyway, I'm just looking at the comments here. Me wondering the same. Sounds like, okay, so for P and Proclaim from the Roofs, the bakery, I'm still there. I do it twice a week now. It's a 25-mile bicycle ride each way. So, and it's 8 hours it's hard labor. So when I go there, it's difficult, and it takes a lot of energy out of me. I woke up trashed today from it. Did you find another job? I know you were looking. I'm doing freelance work on the side, and I I'm not feverishly looking for another job yet. One, because I was living in a tiny house with a slumlord who wouldn't even fix the hot water for 3 months, and I had to move out of there, so I didn't know where I was going to live. Two, because I'm on a bicycle, and and every time I do get a job offer, I've had job offers here in Houston. I had one 6-figure job right there, contracts in front of me and everything. And then I had to talk about what they're going to find when they run a background check. And it was like the person that I talked to about it was very cool, but he said, you can't work here. Unfortunately, he's like, I would allow it, but the company's not going to allow it. And I haven't heard from the guy since, of course, but so I can't get a job with this criminal record. They say, oh, it's not that hard to get a job with a criminal record. Baloney. I can't get a job. I couldn't even get a job delivering for DoorDash on a bicycle. That's a thing. You can do that. You can sign up for DoorDash using a bicycle. I was going to do it in the past for fitness reasons. I was like, why not get paid to go work out instead of paying to go to a gym? I was going to do DoorDash on a bike. But now they won't let me because they do a criminal background check. But here in Houston, you can't get a job with DoorDash if you're an American citizen. You have to be an illegal immigrant to get a job with that. So Proclaim from the Roofs, you're saying that sounds like he has some cash stacked. Talking about Jesus. So money fell out of the sky. I don't know if you may not have heard the story. So about a month ago, long story, I don't know how to I want to keep it shorter, but about a month ago, I got a letter in the mail from a bank saying that you have about $8,500 in an account and we're trying to find you. And if you don't respond to us by such and such date, we're going to send the money to the state. And I had no idea. And so what it was is back in 2021, right before Christmas, I had a remote job. I was fired from the remote job because I wouldn't take the jab, the Dr. Fauci jab, because I don't want to have a heart attack and all that stuff. And so I fought for unemployment. I tried to get a lawyer to help me sue. Nobody would take the case. I talked to 25 different attorneys. By now, I've talked to over 30. I'm still trying occasionally. Anytime I hear about somebody winning one of those cases now, I try to find out who the lawyer was and I'm like, hey, you want to take my case? But nobody will take it. And so, but I was also filing for unemployment, but Pennsylvania wouldn't give me unemployment because they said it was insubordination. You were terminated for not complying, taking the shot. So I fought them for it would have been almost a year, from December all the way through when I was arrested. And so while I was in prison, a hearing came up for an appeal, and I couldn't go to the hearing because I was in the jail. And so I just threw up my hands and I'm like, I guess I lost that too. And so what happened was I won. This hearing came up and I won. I wasn't even there. And they they let me win. And so what happens when you get unemployment in Pennsylvania, they put it in a bank account and they send you a debit card. And I had the debit card because it was in my pile of stuff. I didn't even know. I'm like, what is this? And I'm start going through my stuff and I find this sheet of paper that I got from the unemployment people. And here's this debit card for this account, but there was no money in the account because they denied my unemployment claim. And so here it is, September, October of 2022, and I'm in jail, and I won. I got my, and so Pennsylvania put a lump sum of money into this account, and I never knew about it. Never knew about it. Nobody ever told me. I never got anything in the mail. I mean, how could I? I was homeless and in jail and prison. And so from 2022 all the way to today, I never knew this money existed. If I did, I wouldn't be in Houston. I would have never been homeless. I wouldn't be in Houston right now. I mean, things may not be good, but they would have been different. Things would have went a lot differently back then if I knew I had that money. But I never knew it was there. It's been there the whole time. I never knew. And so I went through this process, and I got the money about a week ago, deposited it into my bank here in Houston, and Thursday this week I'll have access to all the funds. They withheld, like they took 20% of the funds I deposited and locked it and made me wait 10 days to get it. So fine, whatever. I figure that 10 days I can still look for a car, and I'm not in such a hurry that it mattered. But I got this lump sum payment of money I already had, but I never knew. And yeah, I would have gone through a winter up north in an apartment. I would have moved to Pittsburgh right away. I would have gotten approval for it right away because my case was based out of Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh would have allowed me to move there in the blink of an eye. I could have packed my bags and gone to Pittsburgh, and that much money in the bank, I would have been able to find a place to stay. I would have been able to find an apartment instantly. And with public transportation, having bicycles, I would have been able to probably get some sort of job. It's a big city. So, but I don't know. I just look at it like maybe God brought me to Houston for a specific reason, and maybe that reason hasn't shown itself yet, you know? And I'm trying to be patient, or whatever you call it, and open-minded as to why I'm here. I mean, you were just talking about my son's birthday was today. That sucks. That's part of the reason why, if you were to watch this replay video, that's why today sucks for me, being all the way down here. And it's a reminder of I'm basically, 2,000 miles away from my kids. And so some things in my life are absolutely horrible. And I don't know what, I got to do something about this, but I don't know what. And I'm just trying to get some financial stability. So we'll see what happens. There's still time, I guess. P says, I'm from Erie. I miss PA. I wouldn't miss Erie, especially in the winter. But I think it would be okay to go back. But yeah, I mean, see, my son and I, and both of my kids, it wasn't like I was just some weekend dad. And especially with my son, I was with him all the time. I mean, his mom and I shared custody, and we didn't really have any set custody. So he might come spend 3 months at my house and then go back to his mom's for a while, and vice versa, and this and that. So now that I'm getting a car, whatever I end up with, I'm going to try to go up there and visit him, my daughter, and one of my clients up in Jamestown. I would like to see in person for a couple of days. I'd like to maybe spend a week up there, but I don't really have a place to crash. Well, I would in Jamestown. I'd have a place to crash there. But in terms of Pittsburgh, I may have to wait until the spring when it's warm enough to go camping and take my son camping or something. I don't know. I'm just going to try to be, I don't know. It's kind of a sore spot for me today. It's part of the reason why I just decided to turn on the camera and get online, but I had other things to talk about. Um, let's see. Speaking of that, my energy being low, I'll talk about the other two topics. JS says, hey, I never knew a live would be on Tuesday. I didn't either. If you want to know the more details, you can restart the stream and watch it. But I'm going to start doing random streams. Instead of doing videos where I just talk into the microphone and talk into the camera and then post it at some point, I'm just going to do more like this and do it live, because I don't edit those anyway. So why not do it live? Back when I started this pattern of doing a video and then putting it in a queue, I didn't have a good internet connection for the upload side, and it wasn't stable enough. My internet here is stable, and it never goes. I mean, it hardly ever drops. And if it did, I have two different connections now. I have Verizon and T-Mobile. So, yeah, Proclaim from the Roof says, cool about your car in your case. God is good. That's how he works. He knew when you needed it because you're doing right. I don't do vaccines either. God knows the right timing for us. That's what I was getting at. People have been saying that, I'll just share my screen because this goes along with one of my topics. Because I did have something in mind to talk about, but when it's a live stream, everybody kind of, people are going to jump in and it's going to go in whatever direction it goes. I was talking about how my energy level sucks lately. And so I can prove it with the Garmin body battery from my fitness tracker here. And when I go back in time here, you can just see that on certain days, let's see, August 22nd is 22nd is a Friday, so that makes sense. So August 22nd, that's Friday. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it seems like every Friday, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so like there's this pattern where when I do the bakery runs, my energy is like not there. And what this is saying here is that when I woke up on August 25th, my energy, my battery, if you got 0 to 100% charge, it's saying that my charge is like 31% when I wake up in the morning, 23%. And I'm not getting very many days where my energy is high. And there's a lot of different reasons for that. Where are we at? Oh, we're a week behind. So I've been using this body battery thing that I never really paid attention to this too much. But I do notice that if I go to bed early and I do certain things, you can see my energy has actually been a little bit higher from September 4th through the 9th. And so I talked about this on the live stream last week. But just some of the things I'm changing around a little bit and just trying to force myself to get more rest is giving me a little bit more energy. I woke up with a 94 today, and that was only because I had to wake up to have a meeting with somebody on Zoom. And if I had just been allowed to sleep, I would have woke up a couple hours later, but that would have been 100%. And I'm still feeling sluggish today, but even though I'm only working at the bakery twice a week, it's actually like 13 hours of stress and abuse of my body. It says I burn 6,000 calories every time I do that. So if I go in here and I go to calories in and out, and I pick yesterday, between the 50 miles of bicycling and 8 hours of bakery work, I burned 5,984 calories. And if I go to Saturday, and this is pretty consistent, I've been seeing this over and over again, 6,311. And if I go back in time to when I I got a chest strap that counts steps from Garmin so that I could count, because I don't wear a watch when I'm there. But on September 1st, on a Monday, 7,000 calories I burned working at that bakery between the bike riding and the bakery. And that's a lot. Um, the the bike ride alone, depending on how I do it and how intense I make it, heart wise, will have a significant impact on the calories. But on a normal day, 3,000 calories, and that was with a bike ride. I went on a bike ride that day. On a normal day like today, what's today? The 9th, 2,509. So I go from burning 6,000 to 7,000 calories in a day to sitting in a chair. Yes, it does. Jared said, does it take into account you lifting all that merch on restock day? It does. So what I did is I've got this Garmin. I got this chest strap from Garmin. And because I don't wear a watch when I'm at the bakery, so I got this thing, a chest strap. And my whole system is Garmin based. So it's a chest strap. But the thing about this specific chest strap is that it also tracks your steps and certain other things, not just your heart rate. Almost everything that this watch will track. And the app is smart enough that if I take off my watch, the chest strap just takes over. So there's no gap in what it records for the day. And that was part of why I decided to bite the bullet and buy this thing, because there were like 20 different reasons why, but one of the reasons was I was curious to know how many calories and what I actually do at the bakery in terms of how much I'm burning. And this thing definitely tells you. But there's a bunch of other benefits that I get from using this thing in conjunction with this watch. When I'm riding my bike, the chest strap allows me to see my heart rate right on the screen, whether it's my little GPS thing that I carry, or which I have that mounted on a handlebar of one of my bikes, and on the other bicycle I have my phone mounted on the bike. And so either way, I can have my heart rate right in front of me. And if you're like serious about biking, the thing that I can say is, if you had one of three options, if you could look at only one, your speed, your distance, or your heart rate, I would choose having the heart rate more than the other two if I could only see one, because your heart rate will give you more. If you can tune in to how long you can hold a certain heart rate for a certain amount of time, and how long it takes your body to warm up when you start a ride, like in the early morning when I start riding, it takes about 20 minutes before I'm able to start riding at a heavier pace. If I were to just get on the bicycle and start hammering down, I would fall. I would knock myself out in no time at all. If I just started trying to push myself from just having woke up to like a maximum heart rate, which my maximum right now is like 181, 182. And if I can do that, like here, I can just pull this up because it's fun to look at. Heart rate. So I'll go back to like Monday. So in the morning when I start out my bike ride, I'm still in that resting phase. And my heart rate's pretty low, like low 100s. And then at some point I'll have enough energy, and you can generally, every bike ride I take, you can see it ramp up. And then at some point I might have been chasing after somebody or whatever. It got up into like the 140s on my way in. Typically on the ride home from the bakery, I have a easier time riding at a high level. Monday. Was this Monday? This was just, yeah, this was yesterday. I should have, I don't really, that's not accurate. My chest strap said, okay, that's the difference. My chest strap said that yesterday's ride was, my maximum heart rate was 181. And it definitely was, because I tried to break one of my records on a hill climb and I put everything I had into it. And so this is the data from the watch. There's another way that I can read the data from the chest strap. But even right here, this is while I'm at the bakery, and it's showing that my heart rate is in the low 100s. But right here, I took a break. You can see my half-hour cookie break right here. So I can just look at the dip in the chart and go, oh, that's when I took my break yesterday. So I don't know, like this, all this data, I'm not obsessed with it as much as it might look like I am, but it does come in handy. I started wearing this watch again back in February, and now I can just kind of look at data all the way from February to today and just get an idea of what I'm doing to myself. And, I can check out, I don't even care about I'll show you my weight. That, like, even my weight, I go up and down all the time. Um, in May, when I was looking for a new place to live, I was, in May, when I was looking for a new place to live, I was at my lowest weight. But my weight range, since I moved to Houston, I have more data than what you see on this screen that goes all the way back to September. But for Garmin, I didn't start putting it into this app until the same time I started wearing the watch. So I have a different app that goes farther back in time. But this was when I was going on all these crazy bike rides looking for a new place to live. And then for some reason, I think it just has to do with stress and kind of some of the things I'm going through. It's been kind of high lately, but it's all good. I mean, I'm using this to try and make small changes, because I'm not the kind of guy that can just make a massive change and tomorrow I'm doing everything different. It's more like I got to make little tweaks to my diet, to exercise, different things like that. And lately, I'm feeling really like tired. And so, like, one of the reasons why is this is my Strava calendar, and it says I've gone 3,586 miles so far this year. And 60 of that were walking. If I go back last year to 2024, all of this from May, June, July, August, September, October, that's hours. Let me go to miles. So May, June, July, August, September, all of this until October was all walking. 101 miles, 124, 147, 107, 43. That was all walking when I was homeless. Once I came to Houston, all of these miles have been on the bicycle. And I got 202 miles just from riding 5 miles each way to the bakery. But every single one of these bike rides, I was working at that bakery like 5 days a week. So I was racking up the miles. And now you go to 2025. And yeah, Jared, I'm going to check you out too. In fact, why not? Let's see. What's Jared? Jared, what's your, I'm going to give you a shout out here at Jared Smith. So I'm sharing my screen. Gotta take out that space. Is this you with the circuit board here, or is that a different Jared Smith? Because it doesn't have the same. Avatar. Hold on. I know I can. Oh, you You don't have a channel. You should have a channel if you have a YouTube username, even if you don't have any content on your channel. So channel, go to channel. It's right here. There it is. Okay, here we go. Gotcha. So if you look at the address, well, that's just some goofy address here. Yeah, I'll subscribe. All right. So I see you got your little playlist there, but Jared Smith 4281 is the username here. So if y'all want to go subscribe to Jared, give him some motivation to put up some more videos. That's what you want to put. YouTube.com/@. That should bring it up too. Yep. So so there's that. So that's what you should see. And you can go into the, so if you go into the chat, I think I can show you this. So in the chat, if you go to the ... menu here and you go to channel, so you can go to anybody's YouTube channel from that little menu that shows up in the chat next to the person. It should look pretty much the same as what you see on my screen. So that's how you can go to somebody's channel. Let's see. I gotta look at looking at the small consistent changes adds up. Like you, Adam, I can't make a massive change. JS says that. And so, yeah, I mean, sometimes you're forced to do something you don't want to do and you just don't have any choice. Like I became homeless. I lived in a homeless shelter. We had to get up at 6 a.m. every day. I did it. I didn't want to. I just did it for 5 or 6 months. Blue Sky says, what's your current weight? Right now, 225. When I got out of prison, I was 220 pounds. At some point when I was in the joint, I couldn't take my weight all the time, but I know at some point I was like closing in on 240. And I got down to 200 when I went home. And then during the time between leaving my ex's apartment at 220 and coming to Houston, or I'm saying 200 when I left her apartment, and when I came to Houston, I was around 220. And since I've been in Houston, it goes up to about the highest 228 and the lowest about 214. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So I was down to like 219 about a week or two ago, but then I started eating bad. And so I'm just kind of rolling back and forth. And if I could get serious about it, it would be, I know I lost 40 pounds in 4 months, but I was in federal prison where I had nothing else to do. And we were being starved by the prison guards. So there were two things in my favor, and I dropped 40 pounds in 4 months. But yeah, don't worry about it, Jared. The easiest thing the easiest way for me to do a video on YouTube is be in my own space, private, nobody else around, and write down some notes of what you want to talk about. Bullets. You don't have to take an exact script, but I do a better job if I just bullet point some things down and say, talk about this, 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 and this. So like if you're on, use your phone, use an app like Notion. I don't like Notion anymore, but use like a cloud-based note-taking app. Notion is free to use on your phone and the cloud. So you can use it in a web browser, on your phone. There's an app for Mac and Windows. So no matter where you are, you can add to your notes. And your notes will be synchronized on every device. Your work computer, go to Notion.so if it's not blocked, or Notion.com, I think they have now. You can take notes there. And that's what I use. I'm still using it. I'm trying to get out of. You need decent setup. Look at my background. I got just dishes, and I got water bottles and a fridge behind me. So, I went through all of that stuff of trying to have the perfect setup. And before I was arrested, I had an office in a separate building from the house, in this like old little barn that was converted into an office. It was beautiful, but I had a lot of space in there, and I had like a studio set up with everything you'd want. 2 cameras, a nice desk. Behind me, I had a whiteboard that I could put stuff on, either with a whiteboard or like I have magnets, and I put like big posters behind me for backdrops. I had studio lights. I had a really nice microphone, all of it. And I just kept screwing around, and I wouldn't do anything. I wanted it to all be perfect. And then perfect was the enemy of doing it. And I never did anything with it. And that, in hindsight, always being 2020, if I was busy doing that, I might not have ended up going to prison, because I would have been doing videos and talking about, I don't know if I would have been in the same place mentally where I got to the point where I said all the stupid things that got me in trouble on social media. Maybe I would have said it on YouTube instead. I don't know, but I don't think I would have. I was going to say, my personality was the same in terms of the stuff I was going to talk about, and, my abrasive personality sometimes, but, anyway, it's, just the best advice I could give in the short version of it would be just do it. Just do something. It doesn't have to be perfect. Do better as you go. That's kind of why I'm changing the format of my channel again a little bit, and I'm just going to try something different. I've done that multiple times. I went from shooting a cell phone video vertically every day that I was homeless. Once I wasn't homeless anymore, I started doing shots at my friend's house, but I would do it when they were out of town or when they weren't in the house, so that I could just, not be disruptive or be disrupted. And I tinkered around with doing some editing, because I was playing around with my GoPro cameras and stuff. And I was like, man, this is going to take a long time. But if I do the video short, if I can do videos shorter, maybe I could do this more. And then I moved into that tiny house, this tool shed thing. And so I moved into that. And then I've changed the format on this channel more than once of what I'm doing and how I'm doing it and stuff. So I'm just screwing around again. So let's see, Blue Sky, do you ever wonder why you got singled out for that type of BS crime? Yeah, yes and no. It's a lottery. It's a lottery. And I was the loser of the I was the loser of Joe Biden's powder ball, whatever you want to call it. Hunter Biden's powder ball. They just picked somebody. The biggest, hardest thing to deal with is you'll find out who your real friends are really, really fast if something like that happens to you, because everybody in my life, except for maybe 2 people, turned their back and said, fuck him. We don't want anything to do with him ever again. Oh, I can put that in the comments. Why not? There it is. It's in the comments. So that's his channel. I want to, double check and make sure. But yeah, that pops up. That pops up for Jared. So whenever you put some stuff on there, you got some followers. But it was instantaneous when it happened to me. And some of the people that turned their back on me and said that, I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding when I say this. A group of my friends got together like they were in the Get Along gang, like in a clubhouse up in a tree when we were little kids, and had like a vote and decided as a group that we are no longer going to talk to Adam or be Adam's friend or any of that stuff. And these are people that I've been friends with since I was like 18 years old, that I went to art school with. And like, it was a group of people that I hung out with for years, decades. And I'm also not kidding when there was one time that this group of friends came over to my house with AR-15s and night vision goggles and helmets and all kinds of stuff because they wanted to run around in the woods where I lived and play like army guys and like see what it was like to go walk around the woods at night with all of your night vision on and stuff like that. And I went out with them. I was like, yeah, I want to play with this. And so we're all out in the state game lands, like dressed like we're going to do battle as the militia. And, but like, these are all the people I was friends with. They all agree. They were all in the same club with how they felt about the government and all that kind of stuff. And they were the first people that were like, nope, we don't want anything to do with him. So ironically, I would say that so if we're going to lump people into categories, Democrats and Republicans, which you really can't, I can talk about that all day and rant about it. You've seen me go on my rants about Democrats and Republicans, but generally speaking, people I know personally never really are lockstep in one or the other. The people who, most people are sick of the BS, whoever it comes from. And they might have left leanings or right leanings in terms of who they identify with more. But you see, people generally aren't 100% on one side or the other. I'm not. I always tell people I'm what was I? I was I can't even remember what I used to say. Hipster, and I'm also, what was I? Oh, I'm a hillbilly and a hipster at the same time. Like, I'm definitely a gun-loving conservative, all the things. I want to drive my Jeep through the mud and shoot guns and all that stuff, but I'm also a hipster. I like being in the city. I'm comfortable being in the city. I used to go to the opera. I used to take my kids to the symphony and the opera. And if I'm with a bunch of hillbillies and it's time to order a beer, they're not going to know what a delirium tremens is. But I don't want Coors Light or Miller. So like, I'm both. And I had friends on both sides of the fence. So the point I was about to make was, out of like, most people would assume that the Trump supporters, the conservatives, would be the ones that are on my side and the ones that would like have the most sympathy and treat me the best and whatnot. And if I'm going to lump it into one side or the other, the people that have been the shittiest to me since this happened are all conservatives. They're all the Trump supporters. All the MAGA crowd has treated me like garbage since I came home from prison. And most of the people that have been kind to me, not all, and that doesn't even say all MAGA people either. Like, that is not, this really isn't a good, you can't just say these people are bad, these people are good, and vice versa. But I would say I definitely notice more people giving me shade from the right-leaning conservative side of the fence than the left. And it's weird because I was the Trump supporter who said all those things, and I don't like the Democrats. But I had Democrat after Democrat after Democrat tell me that they thought what happened to me was garbage, and that even though we don't agree politically on pretty much anything, they thought it was bullshit. They thought I was a good person, and they didn't think I deserved that, and that it scares the hell out of them that the government can go that far because, you know, what implications does that have for your life? But it also leans back to, you know, if we're just going to, generally speaking, conservatives are generally selfish people who only care about themselves and their family, whereas Democrats typically care about others, and they're more concerned about the community and fairness and all that kind of stuff. And I've really seen that in certain cases. I'm not going to just, you know, now I've had plenty of conservatives here in Texas find out what happened and tell me, damn, that's some bullshit. I hate to hear that what happened to you. I had landlords that would ask me, do you have a criminal record? And I would say, why? And they would say, oh my God, I'll rent to you any day of the week. You're one of us. Like, go Trump. And so I've had that happen too. And I've had conservatives be like, oh, that was bullshit what they did to you, et cetera, et cetera. But I would say that by and large, if I had to lump together, if I made a column of all the people who have been bad, who have been mean to me because of what happened, and who've been, you know, who I'm Democrat and Republican, and fill the jars with marbles, there'd be more Republicans who've been shitty to me than Democrats who've been shitty to me in spite of it all. It's kind of weird. I would not have predicted that. And like, I can't just, you know, I can throw plenty of Republicans in the they treated me good and didn't judge me jar, but I've definitely seen the selfish side of the conservative people who I've been thrown a lot of shade from them. And a lot of the people in my life who turned their back on me and have treated me really shitty over this whole situation are all conservatives, hardcore conservatives. And so I, you know, it doesn't like surprise me, but kind of also, you're asking me, you know, the Blue Sky asking me about whether I wonder why I got singled out and all these kind of questions that I'm just sharing with you. Like, these are the things that go through my head. And one of the things that you'll find out really fast is, so I've been talking about how I have low energy lately. And so there's a lot of people who'd be like, oh, he's just lazy. And I think that too sometimes about myself. You're just being lazy. But there's a part of this that I think the reason why my energy is so low right now is because I got into this apartment, and it's not my favorite place I've lived, but it's quiet, it's peaceful. I'm left alone. The landlord is a good guy. I dig it. He's cool. We don't have any problems. The neighbors don't bother me. I don't bother them. Everybody's cool. We wave to each other. We're friendly, but we don't like, there's no drama here. There's no noise. When I get on my bicycle and I ride to the bakery, I happen to live next to a bicycle trail. It's right down the street. And I don't even have to ride a mile. And my road is quiet. So I go down a quiet road, get on a quiet bike path, and for the first 6-7 miles of my bike ride, it's quiet. Like the only other people I'm going to see are the occasional person on a bicycle at 6 a.m. So it's very peaceful and tranquil here. And so after I got into this place for like a month, 2 months went by, all of a sudden it was like this tension, like a spring. There's a spring that's been wound up and wound up and wound up like a clock spring. And you finally get to the point where that tension just pow unwinds. And so I've been just shot out because all that tension that I was under going all the way back to 2022. And if you go back even more, this all started in 2019 when I broke my arm. I broke my arm, followed by the COVID scam, followed by losing my job for not taking a shot, followed by going through hell, followed by going to prison for a social media post, followed by being homeless, followed by having to move 2,000 miles away from my kids, etc., followed by moving into a dump run by a slumlord who I couldn't even get a hot shower for 3 months, etc., etc., etc. And so I moved into this place, and after I let my guard down, after the first 2 months went smooth, it was like my whole body just went, bah, because I could finally sleep. I could finally rest. I could finally just sit in a chair and watch a TV show or something. And it's like, it's crazy how much I've been able to relax here. And it's kind of like my body just forced me to like, all right, you're going to rest. I don't care what you want to do. You're not going to have any energy for a while because you need to recover from 10, 20, 21, 22, 23, like 5 years of being wound up like a spring. 2019. So we go 2020, 2021, 2022, 23, 24. We're into 20. That's 6 years of being wound up and fight or flight, ready to go. 6 straight years of not being able to relax, even for a minute. And it all hit me. It hit me hard. It was like the middle of the second week of August. My phone broke, and the very next day I got that letter in the mail about the money that was falling out of the sky, and my body just went pew, like I hit rock bottom energy wise. And so I'm not saying that it's I'm not calling it lazy. I just think it's overdue having to lay down and take a nap. And so part of it's also I need to get a car because I'll share my screen again. I'm going to wind this up pretty soon. I didn't think anybody'd pop in, to be honest. It's kind of cool. So I'll do this even more. Here we go. Share the screen. So I was getting at on Strava, part of the other reason why I'm burned out. I've ridden a bicycle 3,586 miles. You can subtract 60 of that of walking this year. So it's 3,524 miles on the bicycle. I've climbed. Houston is flat, very flat. But I've gone 53,263 feet in elevation gain all over the year. So I'm only 4,800 feet from the top of my second climb of Mount Everest this year. And that's in Houston. The difference in elevation between here and the bakery is something like 175 feet between here and there. So I climb 175 feet on my way to the bakery. And then on my ride home, I'm going slightly downhill, but you don't notice a 200-foot elevation change over 25 miles. But I've been doing, it's been, let's see, I've been rained on. People have been laughing because I say Jesus doesn't want me to get my feet wet. I've gone 192 I've gone on 192 bike rides in 2025, and my feet got wet twice because it rained twice. Both of those were in the morning on the way to the bakery, and I had a change of clothes. socks, underwear, stuff like that in a locker at work. So it didn't even matter. I got my feet wet twice. Let's see. You can see January, February was my biggest. February and March were pretty big, 589 miles in March. But my longest week was in February. I did 211 miles. This week here, in fact, right there, soaking wet, February 11th, it rained on me. That was one of the days it got rainy. And this was Valentine's Day Massacre week at the bakery. So I rode my bike every day that week, except for Sunday when we weren't open. And it was chilly. It was kind of weak. And but I rode 210 miles that week, 211 miles that week. So let's see, go back to the year. So I'm tired. I'm tired. You can see where I cut back my hours at the bakery June, July, August, even into May. April and May, you can see that one spike there. One of these was from going to look at an apartment where I rode 80 miles in a day. So it had to be this one. So it was April 11th. Went on a 77.24 mile bike ride. In fact, I can even show you a cool map. This shows you all the area of Houston that I've covered. And I'm not giving away anything, like this isn't private information, but how do I turn all this off? Doing this on the fly. Oops. I want to get rid of these. How do I turn that off? All sports. There's a way to turn these pictures off. No, I don't want that. How do I do this? No, I don't want that. Community photos, points of interest, map labels, I'll leave that on. Okay, so now, and I can also change the map to a light version of the map. So here's Houston. And then if I put on my heat map and then settings, show commutes, done. This is all the area I've covered around where I live in Houston since I've been here. So this is one of the longer rides. I've been out here. These two stretches up here. We're looking for an apartment. And then you can see this really dark line here. The darker ones are my routes. So I live in this area here. And you can see that I've gone on different rides. You can see the really dark line. That's my most common way going to and from. My friend lives up in this area, so you can see a lot of my back and forth to the bakery there. You see this little ride here. I was looking for a place to live. But I'm in this area close to where it's the Woodlands. So that's a famous area about Houston. So I basically go from the northwest corner of the Woodlands to the southeast corner of the Woodlands to and from almost every day. And there might be like a little missing segment. Like there's this weird segment here that shows, I don't know what this is, because I'd never like just rode my bike from here to there without like connecting it to something. So I don't know what that was. But so it's not 100% perfect, but it does show. It shows a lot of stuff. It shows when I went down to GameStop for an interview. I went to a job interview right here one day, and it shows the way that I went there and came back. And that would have been just as long of a ride as what I go to the bakery here to there. So, but anyway, this is the heat map of all the area of Houston that I've covered on my bike rides. But this is all because I have to. I have yet to go on a bike ride because I want to, not one time. So that would be fun. The GameStop, you're asking, I wonder if they ever got robbed. So when I went on that job interview, the first thing that they asked me in the job interview, the first question they asked me was, how do you feel about armed robbery? So that tells you right there. Now, I don't know if that location had ever been robbed, but it looked like it probably had. And as I was getting to about here on the bike ride, from right about here, this little triangle here that I made by taking two different rays, right about here, where my cursor is, south, all of a sudden from, I would say right here, Little York Road south, all of the houses all of a sudden had steel bars on the windows and steel bars over the doors. And a lot of them had steel fences around the house and the driveway, but not the rich people kind, the kind where you would have to get out of your car and open the gate to drive your car into the lot and then shut the gate behind you. Not the rich kind where you push a button and the gate slides open and lets you drive into your rich people driveway and then closes behind you automatically. And I was like, yeah, I'm in the hood. I was definitely in the hood all the way down this stretch. And this is where the GameStop was here. And there were homeless people coming into Burger King, hitting up people for burgers. And like, it was crazy. It was crazy. And so I was not upset when they said, they never called me back. They never asked, they never called me back for another interview or gave me a job offer. But this is the area where I lived at the time. Right here, this little squiggly line here, that was the tiny tool shed house. And this is where GameStop was that I applied to. So this is where Target was. This is where I did all my grocery shopping. And there was a GameStop here, and I applied for that. And so I was trying to get a job at that GameStop, and they called me for an interview at this one here in the hood, which was more of the hood than where I lived. The neighborhood where I live here in Spring, it's very much, it looks like a nice neighborhood, and all the houses are nice, and everywhere you go, it looks like you're in a nice neighborhood. And then you go to a store, and when you're inside a store, you're looking around, you're like, am I in Compton now, or where am I? They're like one step away from going into the store at this neighborhood, and everything's behind a glass case that the manager has to come up with a key and open up so that you can get the thing out. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if at the grocery store, all the Kool-Aid packets are behind a glass case and they got to come and turn a key just so you can get like 4 Kool-Aid packets. But I don't drink that. Let's see. JS. Jared said, my first video was eerily calm for his given circumstance in that video. Probably mostly in shock. Yeah. I mean, I can't bring myself to go back and watch those videos right now because I hit my 1-year anniversary or whatever, and I can't. Let me get a drink. I can't go back and watch those videos. Because it was just too much. It was too much to go through. That first video, I can look at it and see how skinny I was because I was still 200 pounds when I shot that. And I'm like, I see that and I'm like, whoa, because I'm kind of, I've thickened up a little bit. And I was calm. I didn't know what I was doing that day. I didn't really get comfortable having an attitude. I didn't get comfortable showing my bad attitude until I'd done a few videos and was kind of in that rhythm and had more like just comfort to it. And JS was, I was freaked out. JS says, I remember that video. He was very calm and collected. I would have been freaked out if it were me. I was freaking out like you wouldn't believe. That's why I couldn't do a video on the first day I was homeless. Because I had to walk 6 miles to Jamestown with a 60-pound backpack and go straight to social services. And I basically spent the whole day at social services and then between there and the homeless shelter. And by the time I could just go for a walk without anything on my back or anything like that, it was like 5 p.m. And I walked up to like 7-Eleven and I got a crappy sub and ate it on a street corner. And that's all I did that day. And then I fell asleep at the homeless shelter. And then the next day I woke up and whatever, it was a Saturday because I was homeless on Friday. So Saturday I was out and about just walking around town. No idea what to do, where to go, any of it. Didn't know about the library yet. I was like told go check out the library, but I hadn't done it yet. And it was just like my best friend was prodding me, do some videos, dude. Go on YouTube. And I'm like, I don't want to go on YouTube. I ain't got time for this crap. And I was just getting mad. And then I'm like, you know what? I think I should go on YouTube. Like, what else do I got to do? I'm homeless. And so, that was tough. But I was a lot more freaked out than I looked like. JS says, I'm glad you're not using energy drinks like Monster or Red Bull to gain temporary energy. I drink coffee. I mean, I'll drink 2 of these bad boys in a day. I can't, that's the most. This is one of my bigger coffee mugs, the insulated bottle. And I got a late start on coffee today. I didn't brew my coffee in time to have it for the morning. Coffee, tea, orange juice, apple juice, lemonade. And I'm pretty picky about the brands and what I drink there. Water, tons of water, and Gatorade and electrolyte tablets. So on the bicycle, I've been doing these Nuun, N-U-U-N. In fact, I could pull up. This is why I like doing the live stream more, because I'm comfy with doing an image in a new tab. I'm pretty comfortable with doing because I've been doing Zoom meetings my whole career. So I can just kind of do this on the fly. This is the stuff I use. Either Gatorade powder. I got 2 big things of Gatorade powder because I was sick and tired of going to the convenience store on the way home. On the really hot days, I would feel a couple of times during the really hot days, I started to crash out with my, they call it hitting the wall. And it was just because of the temperature and the sweat loss. And so I would stop at the convenience store and get Gatorade bottles. And even when they're on sale, it's like 2 bottles for $5. But I can get the powder, and I can put the powder in my bottle when I leave in the morning, and I can get a hell of a lot. A big thing of Gatorade in the powder form is like $10 for a thing like that. And so I've got that in my cupboard. I've got 2 of those, lemon, lime, and orange. And then I got some of this stuff, and it's these little tubes with these tablets in them. They don't taste that great. They're not my favorite. They taste like Gatorade Zero, which is not my favorite. As long as it doesn't have aspartame in it, I'm okay. But I'll put 2 of these tablets in my water bottle for the ride home. And they're kind of like Alka-Seltzer. They fizz up and they fill your bottle. And so I like, this stuff tastes a lot better on the way home than it does on the way in. The Gatorade, I don't want to take Gatorade powder in my backpack. So I'll use these for the ride home. because I can throw 2 of these tablets in a water bottle before I leave the bakery. And when you're thirsty, things all of a sudden magically taste better than they did when in the morning. I don't like to drink water. So if it tastes bad, it's like I even want it even less. So if I make some Gatorade and take that with me, I'll drink it on the way in. But then on the way home, I drop these tablets, and they're a little more expensive than Gatorade. But if you get the variety pack and you get it on sale, it's not horrible. But yeah, the heat, I don't care about the heat. That's what Jared's saying right now. Time for you to dance on the graves of the people who said you wouldn't be able to handle the Houston heat. I don't care about the heat. I've said that all along. Yesterday on the bike ride in, I called it crisp. I said in the morning when I got to the bakery, I was like, boy, the air is quite crisp this morning, but it was like 70, between 70 and 75, but it was nice and cool, but I was still wearing a t-shirt and shorts. It wasn't like cold. And everybody all day long, people were raving about how it cooled off because the people down here hate the heat. But I'm coming from the frozen north, so I'm enjoying it. I like the fact that it's 90. It was 102 one day when I was out on my bike, and I had to. I didn't have a choice, but I didn't care. I was happy. I was like, I'm starting to, the cool morning that we got yesterday kind of made me go, uh-oh, here comes fall, here comes winter. But I'm still not in that mindset of, in February, I was going on bicycle rides where it would be 40 degrees in the morning and 70 on my way home. You know, I'm used to being up in like Pittsburgh, Jamestown, Erie, where you could be in waist deep, especially Erie, you could be in waist deep snow in February. And here in Houston, the coldest day that I rode my bike was about 20 degrees, and it sucked. It was freezing, and I had to dress in layers. But I'm pretty sure that day when I came home, it was 50 or 60. So, I mean, I'm not looking forward to winter here. People here love it. People here, they love the winter because it's the opposite of being up north. Everybody up north lives for the summer because in Jamestown, you get 1 month of summer, and the rest of the year, you get 1 month of spring, 1 month of summer, 1 month of fall, and then 9 months of winter. Here it's the opposite. It's like 9 months of summer, and then 1 cool month, 1 month of actual winter temperatures, 1 month where it warms up a little bit, and then back to summer. And I'm down. I love it. But JS says, perfect timing to get this car before going into winter. I agree. I feel like, we were talking about Jesus does things. Jesus does things at his own timing. And like I said, if I knew about that money, I would not be here in Houston. I would have never been homeless. I would have moved right out of my ex's apartment and been out. I would have been done with that. I would have been able to find a place to live in Pittsburgh. I would have gotten approval from probation to go there because my case is based from there. So it would have been expedited. I would have been able to pack my bags and just roll. I could have bought a car, for crying out. I mean, probably not a good one. And without a job and everything, I don't know. I mean, that would have been rough. But I think I guess they say everything happens for a reason. And at least now that money's falling out of the sky now, I already did do some legwork to get on my feet. And now I can actually put that money towards something good like getting a car. Instead of having to survive off of it, I can I can do something with it instead of just surviving until I run out of money. Because now I've got income. It's not much, but I'm okay. JS says still 100 in Riverside, California. I got used to it, but I still hate it. I mean, I don't know. You give me some time. If I'm going to stay in Houston for a long time, it might be, what's the word I'm looking for? If I'm going to stay in Houston, I might get sick of it after a while. I mean, there were days where I was riding my bike and it was so hot, but I never hated it because I actually go faster when it's hot. Like my average speed, it shows. If it's really hot outside, I typically go, my body warms up quicker. So like I don't go through that warm up period of 20 minutes on the bike before you can really start to put in the effort. I can almost go right off the bat when it's hot out. And there's just different things about it that I don't know. I've noticed this over the years, not just living here, but even in Pennsylvania. The when it got really hot out, outdoor things I was better at. So I don't know. There's just something, I don't know. I like the heat. When I was younger, in my 20s and 30s, I had a lot of tolerance for the cold and I could handle the cold. But there's a reason why old people move to Florida. Old people don't pack up and retire and move to New York State. They go to Florida when they're old, and that there's a reason for that, and it's not snow. They want to get away from that. Now I'm like, I understand it. I am already not looking forward to winter, and this is the easiest place to have winter in. This is one of the easiest winters to deal with in the whole country right here. So, and I'm still dreading it. Not dreading it, that's not the right word, but I'm not looking forward to it. I would much rather have it be 90 degrees every day than to deal with snow or frigid cold. I don't want to wear a coat. I don't want to wear a long sleeve shirt when I go on my bike ride. I mean, the novelty of it is kind of cool sometimes, when I took my son on a 10-day camping trip. We were camping in Florida. We camped in a swamp for a few days. We camped on a beach for 4 or 5 days. We were gone for a couple of weeks, just camping everywhere we went. We camped in the Francis Marion National Forest, which is in South Carolina. And that's basically a swamp. And we camped all down south. Hot. Middle of July. It was like 4th of July week or middle of July. Hot, hot, hot. And it put him out. He wasn't ready for that heat. And so he enjoyed the trip, but his biggest takeaway was how hot it was. Like you don't feel heat like that up in Pittsburgh. It can get hot and it can be 95, it can be 110 degrees in Pittsburgh, but it's not the same. It's not the same as that Florida crazy humidity where the air feels like you're living in a bowl of soup, floating around like one of the letters, or like you're in a bowl of chicken noodle soup and you're just one of the pieces of chicken floating around in it. Like that's what it feels like down there. And I didn't mind, but it slows you down. And on our way home, we were camping in the mountains of West Virginia, just a few hours away from Pittsburgh, but we were up in the elevation and it was 40 degrees that night, middle of July, but it was 40 something. It was like 40 degrees at night when the sun went down. And he was so happy. He was in a pair of jeans and a sweater and a hoodie and like all bundled up like it was winter. And I was like, yeah, this is kind of cool. I was enjoying it. I was like, after being in the sweat box, it was like, I don't know if you ever watched the movie Django, Django with a D, but the D silent. That was like being in the hot box for 2 weeks. And then all of a sudden you go into a refrigerator and it's like, whoa. And it felt good. It felt really good for that one night in the mountains of West Virginia when it was 40. I was even happy. I was like, man, this is nice. The air is crisp and cool, and the novelty of it was cool. But no, I could definitely live without winter for the rest of my life and never I would be fine if I never saw snow again. I've seen enough. I know what it is. People down here, it's the opposite. They go up north and they're like, "Oh my God, snow!" Like it snowed here in Houston, and the whole state of Texas went crazy. Especially here, they all went. Everything closed, and it was like a dusting of snow. Like they wouldn't even close school for that in New York or Pittsburgh. Um, but here they don't have snow plows. They don't know what to do. They can't get it off the road because they don't got a plow. So that's part of the reason why having like a Subaru Forester with all-wheel drive would be that might not be a bad idea here, because the 1 or 2 days a year that it might snow, if I had that Mercedes SK, whatever the heck it was, the Mercedes with the rear wheel drive coupe, pleasure car, the SLK 230, I'm looking it up. That car is not going to go in the snow. I for a fact that is going to be one of the worst vehicles you could possibly drive in the snow, unless it's front wheel drive. I'm assuming it's rear wheel drive. Actually going to look, because why not? I can look. Oh, it's rear wheel drive. Yeah, that's not the car you want in the winter when there's snow on the ground. That's for sure. That you're going to just end up in the ditch. That right there would be that right there is a reason to say no to that. So my Mini Cooper was front wheel drive. I could drive that in the snow all day long, but rear wheel drive, oh man, I've had a couple of those in my day. That's not fun at all. So yeah, the Lord works in mysterious ways. Proclaim from the roofs. I was talking about my lack of energy and how I'm just kind of falling out slower and slower over time. And I have been out of prison 526 days so far, but I have 590. I did this today. I have this little counter I can check from time to time, and last time I did it was like 3 weeks ago. So as of today, I have 595 days of probation left, and that's less days. That's the first time that I've checked. I have fewer days left of probation than I was in prison. I was in prison for exactly 600 days. I don't know how it came to exactly 600, but it was 600 days from day one to the end. And now I got 595 days of probation left, and this is better than prison. The time's going by a lot quicker than that. So unless I can get some early release action, but right now I'm worried about getting a car, and I don't know. Jared asks if I could get it expedited. I don't know. The probation officer, the last time he saw me was when I moved into here. He had to come over. Anytime you move, they got to come see your place. He said that he wouldn't endorse it, but if I filed for it, he wouldn't oppose it. He wouldn't stand in the way. He said, I'm neutral. He's like, I'm not going to. Now, I'm sure if I was like a fuck up or somebody who, was a problem for him and I applied to get early release, he might be stepping in and saying, no, you don't want to release him. You know what I mean? But he said to me, he's like, I'm not going to get in your way. And he was even suggesting, he's like, you might want to talk to a lawyer. You could probably do it yourself, et cetera, et cetera. And he kind of pointed me in a direction, but he didn't really he won't get in the way if I apply. So it'll boil down to, does the prosecutor still work because now that we have a new administration, did the prosecutor lose his job because those are political appointments? Did a Republican take over for that district, the district attorney, which would be the federal district attorney for that. What is it? The Third Circuit. I think it was the Third Circuit. Not 100% sure. Western Pennsylvania is the district. Then all of the appointees, the U.S. attorneys, are all appointed by who's in charge of that district. Yeah, I would have to go through Pennsylvania if I get early release. I don't have to make a trip there. It's basically I file a motion, whether I do it myself or with a lawyer's help, and then the prosecutor has a chance to say why I shouldn't. And then the judge looks at both and makes a decision. I'm more than halfway done. No, I'm not, actually. I'm more than a year into it in October. I'm like a month away from being halfway done. And that's gone pretty fast. So I have a decent chance, but I don't know what to do myself. Like, I don't want to pay a lawyer right now. So if I can do it myself, it's just, I got so many things going on. I just don't have time to do that on top of everything else that has to be done. And so, got here. Okay. So yeah, it's just hard. Everything has been so hard. And I got too many things. I've so many things. It's overwhelming. And would your lady lawyer give you an honest assessment on if you have good odds to get it fee-free? I don't know. I mean, if you have a federal public defender, once you get sentenced, like after the sentencing hearing, it's over. Like that's not her case anymore. You know what I mean? Now, she's been helpful. I've called her a few times for different reasons, and she's been helpful. And she's not like, I don't need to talk to you anymore because she's not that kind of person. But I don't feel like, I might send an email and copy her paralegal. That would probably be my best chance of getting a response. I emailed her a number of months ago about this and another thing, and I never got a response. But I also wasn't persistent, and I just figured, I figured I could take more action myself, and I just didn't. And so I might reach out to her one more time because there's a couple of things I would like to get from her related to my case that I could use, honestly, that I could use for my videos when I go and do more detail about like this. I want to tell the story of what happened, and there's some things that I don't have that she would, that if I could just get if I could just get a few documents sent to me. And that's why if I copy the paralegal and her on the same email, I'd probably be more likely to get a response, because these federal public defenders they're so overloaded with cases that I didn't have any hard feelings that she didn't get back to me, because all I would have had to do was try again. And she wasn't mean or anything. So I'm like, I don't know. She might be able to point me in the right direction of what to do. I wouldn't expect her to write a motion for me for that. But if she offered to do it, I don't know. I'd be very thankful. But I'm not going to ask her to do it if that's, I'm not going to throw that at her and be like, but it is her case. So I don't know. She might want to do it. Just who knows? I don't know. I don't know. Things are just, there's a lot of things still that are killing me right now in terms of like, I would like the freedom to just be able to go to Pittsburgh when I want without having to go through a process. And if I want to move back there, or if I can get a job up there, just pack up and go. And I don't have to answer to the government and just, to go through all of that. Um, so yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I get like I think about things while I'm sitting here, and I'm just like, gotta can't just I lock up because of the things, some of the things going on, and sucks. So this let this channel be a lesson to anybody who wants to vent on social media, because there's still Trump haters out there that are getting rounded up now by the FBI and thrown in jail for running their mouth. One of them just got set free by one of the judges that hates Trump on house arrest. So she's still got a case to fight, but they let her go home on an ankle bracelet, which is what they would have done to me if I would have been home on an ankle bracelet if I hadn't, if I had gone to my they have a detention hearing. And so if you're out on bond, they'll put an ankle bracelet on you and, monitor where you're going and tell you. I would have had like, I've been basically like I'm on probation waiting for my case, but it would have been better than in some ways it would be better than being in jail. But then if you were to get, like, if I would have got sentenced to 24 months, my sentence would have began at the sentencing hearing. And then I wouldn't have gone home when I did. So part of that is, if I had been able to fight my case from home, I might have been able to fight harder and I would have gone to trial and all that. What's the word I'm trying to think of? But it could have backfired on me because I would have been living at home with an ankle monitor on. But then, 14 months after the FBI came to my house, I would have been getting sentenced to 2 years in prison starting today. And so I'd still be in there now. Yeah, I mean, JS says, I've limited my comments on other channels because I don't want a tank ramming into my place. It can happen under this administration too, and it does. It has. But now they're going after Democrats that say things instead of Republicans that say things. And now all the Republicans are like, yeah, lock them up forever, and all the same crap they said when it happened to me. And if I'm being 100% honest, some crazy liberal who was running her mouth about, saying horrible things like I said, they don't deserve to go to jail for 2 years. I mean, I didn't feel like I deserved to go to jail for 2 years for that. First of all, I shared a jail cell with a guy who killed somebody and got 14 months in jail for killing somebody. There's so many more. Child molesters, people go to prison, people go to jail for molesting a kid, and they get 2 months in jail in their home. Sometimes they get a few weeks. Sometimes they get community service. I mean, to go to prison for a long time for diddling kids, you had to do something really, really bad. Now, on the flip side, I was in Danbury prison with guy who was Chris Cuomo's producer on CNN. You can look this up. I just gave you enough right there. He raped a 9-year-old girl at his ski chalet in Vermont, or I think it was Vermont. Doesn't matter. Up in Killington, up in Stowe, somewhere up in where the rich people have their ski lodges in Vermont. And he's doing 20 years in federal prison for that. So, I don't know. I mean, the federal government, if you get charged with a crime by the federal government, your sentence is going to be 5 to 6 times worse than whatever it would have been under a state government or a county charge. So, like jaywalking, you get a fine. If the federal government charged you with jaywalking, you would get a year in prison. for jaywalking. I mean, that's how they are. Whatever they, when the federal, it's the same crime, but when the federal government charges you with it, the punishment is 10 times worse than if the state punishes you for it. I don't know why that is. It's because our government's corrupt as hell. That's why it is. Some people do deserve to go to prison for a long time. I will not argue that. I'm against the death penalty now. And the main reason why, now, if somebody killed my own kids, or if somebody, I would want to be on the firing squad if somebody, killed one of my own kids. And if I could be the one to pull the lever in the electric chair, I'd love to, I say that, and I'd probably want that. But I can tell you from experience that spending the rest of your life in prison is worse than dying. Worse than dying. I would 100% agree with that statement every time. And I didn't even go to the worst jails or prisons that you can go to. Well, I did spend a couple of months in that place where P. Diddy is right now, and that was hell on earth. Hell on earth. That is, I almost think I'd rather be in a Mexican prison than that place in Manhattan. It was in Brooklyn. That place was hell on earth. P. Diddy will probably get time served when he goes to his sentencing hearing, partly because of how harsh and how bad that place is. They'll probably take that into account. And he has so much money, and he probably has a huge entourage in that place. So he is about as comfortable as one can be in a place like that, which is, a big step down from his lifestyle. But that place was hell on earth, and they're going to take that into account. His defense, they're going to say he spent all that time there, let him go home. He's probably going to get time served. Jared says, I used to support the death penalty, but there have been innocent people on death row. And that's the other reason. So I'll suggest a couple of books, and then I'm going to open this up before I share my screen. And now, I read like 250 books while I was in prison, and these two books that I'm about to share are the two reasons why. Well, they added to why I don't support the death penalty. And part of what that too, JS says they'll give him a pass because he has the receipts from all the elites that had his baby lotion parties. And yeah, I agree with that. So this book here, called Just Mercy, by a guy named Brian Stevenson. It's also been made into a movie. I've never seen the movie, probably because I know how it ends. But the book, that is a crazy, crazy book. And it's the story of a guy who was on death row, who was innocent, and how this guy got completely railroaded by the town that he lived in. This book is absolutely nuts. You'll start reading this book and you won't put it down until you're done. And it's not just that. I mean, I've always kind of thought, a good reason to be against the death penalty is because of the fact that so many innocent people have been put to death. And then you find out later, oh, they were innocent. Oh, shit. My bad. You know what I mean? And it's bad enough that, there was a guy in Philadelphia who was in prison his entire life for committing a murder when he was or supposedly committing a murder before he was, he was young, like 12 years old. And he spent his whole life in a prison, and the automobile had just been invented. So it was still like horse and buggies and stuff. He spent his whole life in that prison, and when he was almost 90 years old, they let him out because they found out he didn't do it. And he comes outside, and it's like, imagine, now you're in Philadelphia, the metropolis. You're looking around, you're seeing all the cars, and everything has been, imagine how much things changed in 80-something years. And they just threw this guy out into the street after he had spent his whole life in prison. He didn't know anything else. But at least he got to go and experience it. That, you know, he didn't get put to death and then find out, oh crap, he was innocent after all. And then this book I read, this called Executing Grace: How the Death Penalty Killed Jesus and Why It's Killing Us. This book is more of a analysis of the death penalty and how a lot of this book it's just a lot of examples of, like, one example was a woman who a guy killed her daughter and she learned to forgive the guy and whatnot. But then again, I've seen stories of a guy killed someone's daughter and then the woman forgave him to the point of giving him a place to live when he came out of prison, and he got out of prison and he killed her while he was living with her. So, you know, I guess you got to be careful both ways. But I'm telling you, aside from the death penalty being, aside from the chance of putting someone to death who's innocent by accident or because of malicious prosecution or whatever, the other reason is because I can tell you firsthand, spending the rest of your life in prison knowing that you're never going to go home, you're never going to see what's out there again. You don't see outside. Even at Danbury, where you're in Club Fed and you're able to go outside and walk around and stuff, you don't see anything. When I came home, one of the things I did was look up that prison on Google Earth so that I could see what I couldn't see through that chain link fence. I'm like, what's down there and what's over there? And you see they don't want you to know. There's no maps in prison. You don't get to see a map of where you are and like what's around you and like what you're looking at. And they don't want you to have a map. They don't want you to know, like, if you climbed over the fence somehow. They don't want you to know how to find your way to freedom. So they're not going to like just have a map somewhere for you to look at. Like you have no idea where you are really, and they're not going to tell you. And so that was one of the things I did when I came home, was just look at that place and like, oh, so if you went down there and what was down at the end of, that. And then like, I just looked around like, wow, okay, that's what that's surrounded by. And I was in a decent place, like in terms of prisons, like I was in one of the better places you could end up for 4 months. I was in some hellholes, but for 4 months. If you have to spend the rest of your life in that place, that would be worse than dying. And that was a good now, if you're in a hellhole prison, like a penitentiary or someplace where you're basically stuck in a cage 24 hours a day, like El Chapo, he's not living his good life. Now, he probably deserves it, but he's not living the good life where he is at all. He's locked in a cage 24 hours a day, and he never sees another human being ever. So like, and you're going to be there for the rest of your life eating peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and bologna. And for the rest of your life, and you don't know when that life's going to end. You never know. You never know where you're going to be. You never know where you are. They like, even in that prison where he is, they move you around from cell to cell all the time, and they make it disorienting so that you can't figure out where you are in the building. And like, you know, you don't know north from south, and you don't know anything. And you have to live like that for the rest of your life. And you can't watch TV anymore. You can't do anything. That would be, that is worse than, you would want to die. You would want to die. There are a lot of people that kill themselves in prison. Lots of people kill themselves. Even in a place like that. Like, I knew a guy in Danbury who went home while I was there, He went he went to prison in 1995. 1995. And he was going home during the time I was there, maybe about a month before I went home. And he's asking me all these questions and stuff, and I'm like, what were computers like in 1995? What was the internet in 1995? What were phones like in 1995? What were cars like? Think about 1995, whatever you can remember about it, the most basic things. How did you pay for groceries in 1995? How did you, basic stuff. And then imagine like just going away, never seeing the world, any piece of it, not even out a window, nothing. The most you could ever see might be what you see on a TV, if you're watching TV. And then in 2024, you're going home, thrown back out into the world. What's that going to be like? Whew, man, you're in for a ride. Like nothing can prepare you for that. Nothing can prepare you for that. And that's like, this guy was doing a life sentence, and somehow he was able to get, a lawyer was able to get him out of it. But he had already been there almost 30 years. 30 years. Like that would be like going to prison when you're 25, 55 years old, you go home. 30 whole years of your life gone. And then what do? You ain't got no skills. Nobody's ever going to want to hire you for a job because you're 55, number one, and you just got out of prison. Whew. Like how you gonna survive? What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do then? I don't know what this guy is gonna do, but he was happy to be going home. Anybody would, but I don't even know. I was just like, that made me think, because he was asking me all kinds of questions about computers and stuff like that, and I'm thinking like, what can I can tell you some things, but last time you tapped on a computer, I mean, they've got computers in the federal prison, but there's nothing you can do with them. You can type out an email to send somebody at home, and you have to pay for it. And you can look up the law library, and it sucks. And it's pretty much useless if you don't know. It took me 14 months to learn how to use that law library to find anything. So, he could log into Prodigy on the message boards. Yeah. 1995, you could get on America Online, for all of those. You could get on the internet. You could TCP, dial-up internet existed back then. It just wasn't popular because there wasn't a lot going on the World Wide Web and IRC and other things. But you could get on. I had a dial-up account for a regular ISP, but America Online was the number one place where people were if you wanted to talk to people and stuff like that. And there were more things on those closed networks like Prodigy, AOL, and CompuServe and all those than there were on the actual internet. But it was their greed, and it didn't take long for it to flip to where everything cool was on the web, and those back channels were pointless. But I mean, everything is so, you would, like 30 years in prison, you would see some things. So you'd be somewhat familiar with what the world has become, even if all you really saw was what's on TV. But books, magazines, TV, things like, I mean, you can kind of get a window out there to a small extent, but you're coming back to a world of, I don't even know how. It was hard enough for me. I saw a huge difference from when I went in to when I came out. In the job market, the tech industry has been completely taken over by India since I went in to when I came out. Like, I don't think there are any American recruiters that even speak English anymore for the tech industry. Like, it was bad when I went to prison, but now I'm like, holy crap, I notice a huge difference in the number of Indian scam artist recruiters and how difficult it is for an American citizen to get a job in tech versus importing another batch of them from India. They've taken over the whole entire tech industry, and if you're an English speaking American, you can't even get a job as a programmer now. What's the third thing that I've AI? AI was there when I left to go to prison, but AI went from being something that people were using a little bit to now AI runs everything. I had to go on a freaking job interview with an AI bot once. And I did it because I was homeless and looking for a job. Like right now, I'd be like, hell no. I wouldn't show up for that. But AI is in charge of everything now. Like it went from not being like it went from being there and existing in 2 years. All of a sudden, it's everything. Now everything is AI. And if you don't know how to use and leverage AI, you ain't shit. You can't get a job. And it's like, well, what? I can't get a job running the AI bot that's just going to take my job once the AI bot gets good enough? You're basically, if you have a job where you have to use AI to do your job, it's really not much different than when they bring in a bunch of Indians from India and then you have to train them and then you get fired because you just trained your replacement that's coming in at 1/3 your cost. Now you go to a job and you start using AI to do your job because you have to. And all you're doing is training the AI bot to eventually not need you anymore. And now you're out of a job. So but I saw this, that it was night and day when I came home. Those are the couple of things that I've noticed heavily from the 20 months. I was gone for 20 months. It was like Tom Cruise. It was like Tom Hanks and Castaway. He was probably on that island. How long was he on that island? I'm going to look this up because I got to get out of here, but y'all give me something to think about or talk about, and then I keep going. How long was he on the island? Let's see. How long was... Here we go. How long was Tom Hanks? 4 years. Wow. Okay. So in that movie, he spent 4 years on that island, and when he came back, everything was like, whoa. I was gone for 20 months, and I came back to a whole different world in certain areas. The world has changed drastically since 2019. Anybody would see it for worse. Yeah. AI exponentially increased since 2021. It's crazy. Shocker, the lady didn't wait on him. Yeah, but it looked like he ended up with someone better. But when, we really don't know. And, we all know if Tom Hanks was one of those Epstein Island guys, he, you know what I mean? He wasn't really interested in the ladies anyway. So, anyway, so it's been real. I'm glad some of you showed up. And so when you see the thumbnail format for this video, I'm just going to reuse that and change the date whenever I do a random stream. And I'll leave the other thumbnail format in place for the Thursday night streams, just graphically so that your eye, when you see it, you see it. But anyway, it's 3 hours. It's been fun. I wasn't expecting, I was going to go for an hour, but then a bunch of people showed up. And so I'm like, cool, do that. So thank you all for showing up. And check out the channel memberships. If I get one member, I'll do a members only live stream. Boom. I'll do it if there's one member. I mean, I'm not going to do a members only live stream and then have no members show up. But the difference will be for the members only live stream, I will make it members only permanent, like the live streams, the replay. of the live stream where you can go back and watch won't ever be open to non-members. And for the videos, if I start doing better videos with better quality editing and all that kind of stuff, I'll make them members only with no ads. And then on the flip side, when I release it to the public, it'll have ads. And I'll probably, for a while, when I got to figure out a rhythm. But once I start doing it, I'll do the, what was I going to say? Once I get into the rhythm, I'll probably leave a video members only until I have a new video to post. And if there's no members, I won't do it. But if there's one, I'll do it. So I'll get that, you know, whatever. And if nobody wants to sign up for a membership, that's cool too, because I only did it to get $600 from YouTube. So if they pay me and then and nobody joins and nobody does it, that's fine. I'll wait until, I'll probably leave it turned on, just because why not? But I'll wait until I've got, 10,000 subscribers on the channel. If they ever release me from shadow ban jail, maybe doing more live streams, maybe mixing this up a little bit will help with that. But anyway, I'm going to say peace out to all of you. Thanks for stopping by. And if I don't stop recording, I'll just keep going and going. But anyway, peace out. Later.